Standing up and speaking out, here's Hal Sparks.
Well, by God, it's another one of those news weeks where there's just no news. You know what I mean?
I figured we just chatted.
We're just going to talk about. Has anybody seen Rise of Skywalker?
I've seen it tomorrow. Looking forward to it.
All right, I won't say anything.
Thank you.
Yes, this is and hello everybody out there in. Let's see.
Today's going to be a call-in show. We're thinking mostly like Christmas recipes.
Right. Yeah. Just what bunt cake. How did it get its name?
Nothing but cake.
Right. Nothing but cake. Hold on. I gotta make sure that YouTube-wise everybody's in the right place on here because it's such a strange little dreamy thing.
I think I'm YouTube-wise.
Yes, you are YouTube-wise. You're wise enough to not try to figure out their new way of getting on the air. We are going in to the holiday season. Literally, the break for most people started last night. Kids got off from school. Everybody, there was it was a clear sigh of relief almost at the end of this week around me. You could almost feel like my entire neighborhood go, so I don't have to deal with all this nonsense from Trump and at the same time figure out how work and life and children and humanity and I mean it's nuts and it's been crazy. So let me see if we can start in one place. I'll see if you can hear the audio from this one. This was, I think, the lightest moment in the Trump situation.
No water comes out. You have areas where there's so much water you don't know what to do with it.
It's hold on. I have to find it on my phone just to be
adorable. This person's burning in hell moment. Is it that?
No. That in and of itself,
that was cute.
Well, yeah, just as an aside, just a small soliloquy, like Groucho Marx stepping, aside and staring right in the camera, going figures, strange figures. Trump actually, I think, the Trump dishwashers comment. Did you hear that one?
No.
Okay.
Talk to me about dishwashers.
So Trump has been doing this thing about water lately. I don't know if you've noticed, but he has this very deep concern that water is not coming out of the pipes the way it's supposed to.
Oh yeah. I've seen references.
And toilets flushing and 10 flushes and all that kind.
I have to flush my toilet 10 times.
Yeah. And which. Like, what kind of rambling excuse for somebody clogging their own toilet? I mean, this sounds like, knowing this man's ego, it sounds like to me they had to call the White House plumber because he was tweeting till his legs went numb on the can in the side bathroom to the Oval Office, which is a sign on the door, no deucing. And he was in there for so long, and his questionable diet caused some ramifications.
Maybe the dude just throws down.
And they came in there. They came in there and had to fix it, and it was kind of a big to-do.
You realize we're like at the ultimate crossroads of my
you and me. Yes. No, I mean it's perfect. It's incredible. And by the way, thank you, Lisa Mia. That's so sweet. We got a coffee sticker because we definitely need it. This is going to be a weird show. So Trump has been talking about this water thing for a while now, and no one knows what he's talking about. But so he talks about like the showers. There's apparently so much water. This goes on with the light bulbs thing that he does too, which is he likes the old light bulbs because they don't make him look orange, which is this kind of joke somebody laughed at and now he thinks works, so he plays a lot and he thinks it's his version of self-deprecating. Thank you, Billy. Merry Christmas to everybody from Billy Hutchings in our chat room. So he's been talking about this water thing for a while. Then he starts on this whole thing about dishwashers, and right when you think that he can't sound like more elitist because he doesn't know what a dishwasher looks like when it's working, functioning. Like he gathers all this information about how normal people live from old commercials from the 50s. Well, here it is. Here it is.
The water comes out. You have areas where there's so much water you don't know what to do with it. You turn on the shower, you're not allowed to have any water anymore. I mean, we do a lot of it. Dishwashers. We did the dishwasher, right? You press it. Remember the dishwasher? You'd press it, boom, there'd be like an explosion. 5 minutes later, you open it up, the steam pours out, the dishes. Now you press it 12 times. Women tell me, again, they give you 4 drops of water. And they're in places where there's so much water, they don't know what to do with it. So we just came out with a rag on dishwashers. We're going back to, by the way, by the time they press.
I mean, that's, no one knows what he's talking about, by the way, in his crowd. Now, everyone is.
Women do.
Well, yes. Well, women come up to him all the time. By the way, along with that friend of his, the Jewish friend of his whose name has changed 4 times, who, thanks him for moving the embassy. And it's whoever the richest Jewish person who supports him in the vicinity is. That it ends up being them. He was just saying to me, this is the greatest thing he's ever.
That women tell me because they know about washing dishes. That makes me so angry that I involuntarily flex my arms and I'm not even that kind of guy.
Right.
It's like, argh.
Yeah, it just overwhelms you with macho. Yeah. Amos in our chat room says women tell him keep your hands to yourself. That is pretty much the extent of the.
It's because women squirt them with the hose from the sink.
That's right. Yeah, get away.
I've noticed that the pressure isn't what it used to be. I can get much closer to them now.
I don't understand this. There obviously there are parts of what he does that the Trump crowd goes for, and basically they go for those things so deeply, and it's so important to them that they have to overlook everything else, right? I mean, the Christianity Today comes out with this article, which I'm sure did you hear about that?
Which the Christian
magazine, or newspaper. Christianity Today comes out with this editorial saying Trump should be removed from office, and his response is, Billy Graham's kid loves me, and I'm never reading ET again. Now, what he meant was CT, I guess, Christianity Today, but he put ET.
A novelization of ET.
Yeah.
To be on the pale.
Totally, yeah. And you could tell he watched ET, when it came out in some sort of screening and went, I never had friends. And anyway, so this thing comes out, and they're not willing to overlook this anymore. This was a huge step for the evangelical community. Now, everyone's saying now that Christianity Today is more center or center left or a little more open minded. Kind of leans in the Episcopalian zone of things as far as it's definitely not the mega church pastor who hops up and down until her Botox sets loose, going everywhere I stand, God stands. I'm on the White House grounds. It is holy ground. That kind of stuff. It's not in her vein, right? His, So this, they come out with what is largely a balanced and logical response to the president's behavior over the last, how long has he been alive? But definitely over the last 35 years. I mean, even going back so far as, as looking at the, how he behaved in the 90s, like that video of him whispering in Jeffrey Epstein's ear that surfaced, and Jeffrey Epstein laughs. And my response, like a lot of people, was like, can you imagine just that moment when you made someone like Jeffrey Epstein laugh by whispering something in their ear? Would that not haunt you for the rest of your life?
Oh my word!
Even I'm telling you, and believe me, I don't
want to know what makes him laugh.
I don't either, and I don't believe it would be innocuous what he said to him. But let's say it was. Let's say it was literally like he's making fun of a dude 10 feet ahead of them off camera, right? A guy who's a complete troll who's gross, and the two of you are.
I can hear you.
This is the most charitable. Don't pretend I'm not standing right here. This is the most charitable version I can give it. You're standing there, and you're at this party, and you're like, this is gonna be fun. There's a lot of nice ladies here. You're kind of having your SNL skit life. You're living your best SNL skit life, and you're bobbing by the bar, and
the John Lovett's and there she goes.
That's right, yeah. And you spot that guy. You're standing by the bar with a friend. You're going, well, we might not do well tonight, but we're in a good spot. And you spot, I don't know, someone like Donald Trump ahead of you, and doing the white man's overbite, really weird hair swoop, all that stuff, and you lean over to the dude and go, well, as bad as things could be, we're not him. You know what I mean? And that's all. That's what you said to make him laugh. And cameras were rolling, and then all this stuff comes out. I'm like I said, most charitable version in the world. You barely know the dude, and you do this, and can you imagine in this day and age, video surfacing of you asking Jeffrey Epstein to pass the salt, and he goes and he pats you on the shoulder as he hands it. Like, everyone in the world goes, excuse me, when you asked him to pass the salt, what else did you say? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, any normal person would be just sweating buckets at the idea that they were around this dude, much less made him laugh, right? So, horrifying. So all that's reason enough for a magazine like Christianity Today to go, yeah, we're out. We'll stay out because we're a tax-free organization. We'll stay out of politics for the most part. Although I don't know that they have a tax-free status as a publication. There's the rules. The rules are really sketchy about that stuff, which I believe they shouldn't be. I think if you're a religious station, you should not even be able to mention the names of politicians. You should not be able to name drop a party. Nothing. But if you want to pay taxes, knock yourself out. You can opt in. There's nothing that says a church can't opt in to paying taxes on their money. You know what I mean? Like, maybe the Congress can't pass a law. They go, yeah, we can speak because we're actually opting in. We're denying our 501c3 status or whatever. We're not going to file as one. We're going to be a for-profit church. You know what I mean? You can do that. There's nothing stopping you, right? So CT may very well be there. And obviously, Trump calling them ET was kind of gorgeous. Well, I blazed past the break because we were having so much fun. We'll be back. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, mega worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Ooh.
Is that too loud again?
You guys are pretty loud. Yeah, it's okay though. I mean, I could drop.
Not clipping.
No, I'll drop it on my end.
Yeah, it's just loud.
Yeah, it's just solid. And last week it was pretty light. So,
because I wasn't here.
Like wind and solar, and keep paying the same rate as they did
with
ComEd. Same rate. It's a no.
The same, dude. It's the no-brainer. All right, sorry. I'm just gonna bring it down a touch, coming from their version, and then you're on echo cancel. You're fine. So, yeah, I've got to pull up a couple of things. Good morning, chat room, and hi everybody, and how are you? And what's going on? Evangelicals will never vote for Buttigieg. No way, no how. I would agree that that's correct. By the way, the Christianity Today article has over 30,000 retweets. I don't doubt it, but I think a large portion of those is of people who would crap talk Christianity out of the other side of their mouth instantly. So I don't know how seriously to take like people patting themselves on the back for that kind of stuff. Titles, let's see, social alerts, send this out. Yeah, okay. Whoops, I'm typing on the wrong thing. I got too many keyboards, Johnny. It's
back in 60s.
Okay. Hi, Twitch. How you guys doing? How do we get rid of Barr? We don't. Barr, he has to be impeached, but I don't see that
30,
happening.
Jen.
Yeah. Still get mad when people say Space Force. It's against the international law to weaponize space. Right. Well, force doesn't necessarily mean, interestingly enough, aggressive or defensive military action. So that's how they're getting around it. Yeah.
This is Doris Davenport, host of The Doris Davenport Show, all local, all the time. Now let's get back to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
By the way, I had a lovely time talking to Doris Davenport a couple days ago, and I think that aired this morning on CPT and is available on the SoundCloud page.
It is.
It is, yeah. And I felt like I said just enough to get me in trouble on several topics, so it's worth a listen.
Yay.
Yeah, I've noticed these days that there is a curious aspect of discussing anything that is worth talking about, also known as controversial topics. You know, topics that need discussion. People fear having a discussion about those, largely because there's usually just enough time to say half of what you mean. And
Right.
you know what I mean? So you kind of set up an idea of what your premise of where you're kind of presenting an angle, especially if you're presenting an angle that's not the immediate obvious take that people have. And you guys know me in the show. Everybody in the chat room knows this. I've been saying this all along, back when everybody was ragging on Pelosi and saying she's not going fast enough, or at all, or she shouldn't even have the job. And I'm like, you guys, I felt like Braveheart, sitting there going, hold, and
Yeah.
and on a lot of topics, what happens, amongst the, especially among liberals, I think, is in our desire to be of service and help and open up the world to voices that haven't been heard yet, or try to further the conversation on behalf of people we care about, and try to be good allies and the like. There is always an issue when you come at it from a slightly like a perpendicular angle or a cutting angle. It's not the obvious argument people are used to hearing. It takes more conversation. And I find I get a little bit spoiled in that my stand-up is an hour long, and this show, it gives me the ability to be very clear about what I'm saying. And if I need to redress something so people understand it a little better, I have that option too. When I'm on somebody else's show, when we hop onto another topic, I'm like, wait. You and I know what we're talking about. I'm not 100% sure that some people didn't hear the shorthand that well. So, that's my way of saying, if you're mad at me, you've misunderstood me. So
If you're mad at me, you're wrong. You just don't understand.
that's right. Yes.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. If you're mad at me, you're wrong. So it's pretty much how I live my life.
Yeah, but my wife and your girlfriend are both very pleased with our new philosophy.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Listening is a mistake. 2020. That's my campaign slogan. Listen to who? So the issue, Trump, and by the way, Trump said he is no longer going to read Christianity Today, even though he said he's not going to read ET. What he meant was CT, and he literally said, I am not going to read Christianity Today anymore. And now try for a moment, anyone, Trump supporter or no, try and imagine Donald Trump sitting down and going, where is the most recent copy of Christianity Today? Where is it? It's got to be fresh off the presses. And perusing, licking a finger, going page after page, reading articles. And by the way,
How do you think his finger
Oh, never lick my own fingers. It's always a mistake. Reminder, this is the man who, in that the famous Taco Bowl picture that he posted on Cinco de Mayo, remember that?
Oh, yeah.
If you look at the magazines on his desk, one of the magazines that's open is open to a spread of his ex-wife in a bikini, or I think she's in a one piece, but a bathing suit photo shoot of his ex-wife. That's on the pile. So I don't know if it was under Christianity Today. I'd have to look. I don't think so. But that in and of itself is fairly hilarious. So this is, and by the way, the chat is kind of on fire today. You guys are great. It's going to be. I feel like I've got to like jump straight in. But Billy brings up something that I think a bunch of people have felt lately, which is that everybody's saying like Nixon is a saint compared to Trump. Saint's a big word. Saint is a pretty big word. Let's not forget that one of the reasons why Nixon was drummed from office and why he resigned wasn't because of the break-in and him being tied to the break-in, but that the tapes that came out showed him being a massive anti-Semite and racist. More than almost any other reason. That was the driving force, because and obviously the criminality of directing people. It was getting up the chain, and he was convinced that eventually it was going to get to him that he ordered those guys to break in and plant bugs in those, in those offices. But and perhaps he was afraid of weathering that. But the tide of public opinion turned against him because of his overt anti-Semitism and racism. And Trump has gone to great lengths to inoculate himself against those charges through his supporters on Fox News and through, his sort of clinging to Jared and not recognizing, how can I put this? Oftentimes,
I've never heard you take such care at anything.
No, it's because we're dealing with like race and anti-Semitism. The word of it is like, oftentimes people like Trump and Trump himself will often point to the fact that they have employees of that group, right? Oh
yeah.
I love Jews. I have a Jewish accountant. I only let them count my money. That's literally his version of that.
Works on my golf course.
That's right. Yeah, he'll use that as. And my argument has always been, as far as employment and that circumstance being indicative of your racism or lack thereof, I take it that you. I want to see if you've ever had a boss that's different than you. If you would work for someone who was of that group you were accused of having an issue with. That's the part that's, that's indicative of your character more so than you'll hire people to do jobs for you. Because especially if your habit is of not paying your employees and, stiffing them and hiring people who are undocumented to do work so that you have leverage against them lest they ask for more money. See Mar-a-Lago, right? So we got to take a break. We'll be back. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, mega worldwide on WCPT Radio. I want to talk about the 6-page letter he sent. I want to talk about the actual impeachment vote moment. And I want to talk about his continuing response to it. And basically, he's a retweeting machine. Which reminds me, retweet the link I just sent out that the show is live so everybody can see it and join us in. And that's awesome. And we'll be back right after this. So, yeah. This is, all right.
What you reading for?
What are you reading for? Wow. Look at that. You stumped me. Bill Hicks, everybody. Hi, chat room. How are you guys doing? Let's see. I got to make sure I'm not punching the wrong thing. We'll switch.
That is still the standard question that Lisa and I ask when somebody's reading. What are you reading for?
What are you reading for? What am I reading for? That's just, damn, it just stumped me. I suppose so I don't become a Waffle House waitress, I think was the retort. Yeah, the foreign clears D is saying, but my buddy is Netanyahu. Trump is a extortionist, bully, racist, liar, and a bigot. This is a very good example. This is not a very good example of a human being. If you're a true American, even if you disagree with people, you don't have to be hateful. This is true. Trump Christian, you have to repent first. Then you have to realize you are only human and need leadership from a higher power. That sounds like Greenseeker is saying that Trump needs to be in a program of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so did you see the 6-page letter, by the way? Oh,
I read the first 2 pages and it really started to go downhill, and I was like, I think Hal's going to tell me about the rest of this.
You're always, God.
You've created a monster.
I have. It's true. I should put it up here so I can read it a little easier. This will be easier on me. And the funny thing is, she responds basically with a letter that, by the way, you have a speech to give in a couple of weeks. You might want to start doing your homework, young man.
Yeah, just inviting him.
Oh, gross. You moron. So, let's see. All right, let me plus this up so it's easier to read on the screen.
Are you ready?
We're live in 60.
Excellent. Oh, God, it's so glorious, this letter. Honestly.
It's like he didn't write the first 3 sentences.
Yeah, and then,
then it goes crazy.
No, I think what happened was he started dictating a letter, and they threw on that at the top for him.
Okay.
He just started going, you tell this lady that I... All right. Oh, my God.
Well, we better make this look official.
Oh, boy. Freaky Billy, written by Stephen Miller. Let's see. Was a reverse paper shredder production. Billy's saying basically like it's such word salad that they basically shredded his original letter, which was just full of monstrosity. And
this is Tom Hartman, and you're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT.
Welcome back to the show. Hey, it's the Christmas season, the Hanukkah season, the Kwanzaa season, the New Year's season, time for New Year's resolutions or whatever. One of the things you can do, help the show. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks is a great way to help the show. And of course, listen to the podcast version of the show on the Sexy Liberal Podcast Network. It's the Hal Sparks Radio Podcast, Mega Worldwide. And then, of course, the Wonky Donk, of which there is a new episode this week. Fantastic, with Jackie Scheckner and myself, who was loving and wonderful and fantastic and intelligent and smart and cool and filled in for Johnny last weekend. She was just great to have her.
When I saw that going on, I was like, he don't need me.
She's fantastic, especially when we start talking about healthcare, because she knows. Now, that being said, patreon.com/Hal Sparks, it just makes a good Christmas gift for everybody. Help us out. Also, I'm doing, you guys know I do the Cameo videos. I'm giving $5 of every Cameo between now and the end of the year to Project Angel Food in Los Angeles. They bring hot meals and food service to people who are living with HIV/AIDS, and now they have expanded their service to people who are terminally ill or are dealing with the terminal illness, who, God willing, will recover, but also need, are bedridden during chemotherapy and the like, and do not have the resources to take care of themselves during that period. Project Angel Food and they're expanding now to a pilot program all over California. And it is my hope that that takes off as a service and expands to other states as well. And we'll talk about healthcare expansion and the like after, later on in the show as well. But so Trump sends this letter to to Nancy Pelosi, and I agree with you, Johnny, that somebody else wrote the first 3 sentences, the first mini paragraph.
Definitely, because it's all very respectful.
Yeah, so, I write to express my strongest and most powerful protest against the partisan impeachment crusade being pursued by the Democrats in the House of Representatives. This impeachment represents an unprecedented and unconstitutional abuse of power. Like, this is stuff his lawyer wants him to say, right?
Right.
Then we get into, he doesn't even get through, 2 more paragraphs. By proceeding with your invalid impeachment, you are violating your oaths of office. You are, oaths? She takes an... Yeah, right. She takes an oath. I guess maybe he means oath of office as a congressperson and as speaker, though. Yeah, it's kind of the same one.
There's so much left, so let's not nitpick.
No, let's you're declaring open war on American democracy. Yeah, by impeaching him on 2 charges that are so obvious that that it is a clear embarrassment that any Republicans even back that part of it. But open war on American democracy. You know who declared open war on American democracy, for the record? Vladimir Putin.
Hey, I got one right.
Yeah. You dare to invoke the founding fathers in pursuit of this election nullification scheme, which, by the way, if he's impeached...
that's foreshadowing.
Yeah. If
that's what he's trying for.
That's right. If he's impeached, Pence becomes president. So the whole nullification and coup, the coup argument, which is hilarious. We're not putting Hillary Clinton in his place in a generalissimo outfit, where she could stand on a balcony, going, the queen is dead, long live the queen. But this idea that they're nullifying the election, just because you get elected does not give you a license to commit crimes while in office. The election...
In fact, you did a big public promise to not. Your hand was on that thing, your other hand was up in the air.
When you were using, I don't know if it's the same hand he grabs women with against their will, but I doubt it because I think he's right-handed. They're so small I can't tell them apart. I'm pretty sure the thumbs are on the outside. That's weird. But anyway, so his hand resting on the Bible and the other one, which is the safest any woman in the area felt, by the way.
That's right.
Because
the other hand was making that universal sign for cuckoo around his side
right.
of his head.
Right. So it was up and you could see it. So everybody felt whatever. You dare to invoke the founding fathers in pursuit of this election nullification scheme. The election is not nullified. You just don't get to do whatever you want once you get in office. It's just... You don't get elected to commit as many crimes as you can in the allotted amount of time.
Same thing happens to police. Same
thing
happens to
judges,
mayors,
right?
Every governor of Illinois,
right? It's a little bit like your real estate agent, on move-in day, starts setting up a bed in the corner, and you're like, whoa, what are you doing? Well, I sold you the house. I get to stay here. Well, that's not in the thing. You sell the house. That's part of your job. Yeah, but look, house is involved. I'm staying. What makes you think from this point on you're allowed to do whatever you want in terms of this house? That's the same kind of attitude he has towards us. So the idea that it nullifies the election is ridiculous. What nullifies the election is his actions. If you commit a crime that is egregious enough that qualifies as a high crime or misdemeanor, which this clearly does. Also, the other argument, and this is aside from the letter, that you keep hearing is this idea that he has, over the course of, that they're in nullifying this argument. I'm trying to wrap my head around because it makes so little sense. Really.
Should we have known that you trying to explain what's going on here could lead to this?
Well, yeah, because it's such a cul-de-sac of intellect, and I'm so used to logic and reason and actually caring. and none of that applies to what is going on. But this idea that he he believes that that Article 2 gives him the right to do anything he wants, that it's a king-making article, and is part of all this stuff. Anyways, we'll go back to the letter, and I'll try and figure it out because he mentions it. Yet your spiteful actions display unfettered contempt for America's founding, and your egregious conduct threatens to destroy that which our founders pledged their very lives to build. Oh my God. The man thinks he is America.
It kind of sounds like he's accusing
Yeah.
people of what he's doing.
Right. Yeah. Even worse than offending the founding fathers, you are offending Americans of faith by continually saying, quote, "I pray for the president," when you know this statement is not true, unless it is meant in a negative sense.
Oh my word.
Like Nancy Pelosi takes time out from her day to pray that the president falls down a flight of stairs coming off Air Force One and pulls a president forward. What in the world? It is a terrible thing you are doing, and you will have to live with it. Not I. Your first claim, abuse of power, is completely disingenuous, meritless, and baseless invention of your imagination. Is a completely disingenuous, meritless, and baseless invention of your imagination. It's a culmination of 7 other charges. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and those are the official ones. Like, there's so much.
Well, that's the thing. That's the danger that they get into. They live in this zone where the Democrats are in a bit of a bind. That he's done this kind of gish gallop of criminal activity. That on the one hand, by only charging one crime and going after one thing, you kind of make it the case that all that other stuff doesn't qualify as criminal when it clearly does, and especially obstruction charges that Mueller related. It is like a gish gallop in a debate. And those of you that don't know what a gish gallop is, it's when you throw a bunch of lies out in your statement, 8 or 9, and in a row, or 10 or 20, however many you can get out, in the speed that you're doing it, and the person ends up only having time in their response to deal with the last one, which is an egregious lie that requires a lot of rebuttal. And the other ones are taken as fact because you didn't have time to attack the rest of them. Yeah. So the same thing is true of his criminal activity. He is continuing to do stuff going, if they only go after these 1 or 2 things, they're tacitly saying that the rest of it is legal. So thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. And hello, Facebook and everybody who's on there. So he goes after abuse of power, as completely disingenuous, meritless, and baseless invention of your imagination. Okay, she didn't imagine this stuff. If anyone in the Congress didn't dream stuff up to go after him for, because A, you don't need to, but it was Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi spent most of the year tapping the brakes on House members who wanted to stampede into impeachment, because she knew if you swing and you miss, you're done. She didn't. My theory is that she didn't. She said she didn't whip the vote on the impeachment, right? She didn't. No, not at all. Yeah, they didn't sit down with everybody after the judiciary hearing and go, okay, the vote's going to be tomorrow. Everybody's voting our way, right? She, I think, didn't move forward until she knew that she had a plurality of votes. And I think she was, because she's not a stupid woman, she was aware of the couple of defections that they would have. And it was either tacit approval or just an awareness that that's related to their district and the like, and you don't want to lose their district to somebody who will want to put women in jail for having a miscarriage. And when you have a choice between somebody who agrees with you 80% of the time and someone who agrees with you 0% of the time, it's an easy choice to make if you're an adult.
Right.
So you let those people kind of stomp their feet and have their protest votes in those moments because you know it won't affect the outcome. Sanders and Rand Paul often are that vote in the Senate. God. Right? So, okay. So we got to take a break. The first charge was abuse of power, and he's like, I had a totally innocent conversation with the president of Ukraine. I then had a second conversation that has been misquoted, mischaracterized, and fraudulently misrepresented. That's that shift thing again that he keeps going back to. It is the dumbest part of his argument, if there can be. If we can bifurcate out those parts that are just idiotic versus dumb. We'll be back. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. 773-763-9278 is our number. Infotainmentwars.com. Yeah. And he keeps I want nothing, no quid pro quo. I want President Zelensky to do the right thing, do what he ran on. There is no reason to believe that that is an accurate quote coming from Sondland. The man lied initially. He came back mostly to clean up stuff that protects him. He went right back to working for this White House. I think he intentionally, that was part of his disassembly when he went in there. That was part of the reason he was testifying in public, was to plant that quote, which I call BS on. Let's see who. I think if we stop talking about Gabbard, she'll go away. She wants attention. And okay, so we're talking that they're talking about Tulsi Gabbard in there. Yeah, the one present vote. I mean, come on.
Have some pretty weak tea.
I have to admit that if that was a congressional vote alone, if she wasn't running for president, it wouldn't be as weird. Right. You know what I mean? If she was just simply doing it as if you were in a split district, which Hawaii isn't, by the way. Thank you.
We have one call.
Okay. If you had, you were in one of these purple districts, and you were like, I think, I'm a perfect representative of my district, and therefore my district is not all in on this, so I can't be all in on this. We are evenly split, so I'm voting present, because the people of my district in mass would qualify as that. That is not the case in her district at all. So, yeah. Tom Steyer, I don't know if he would be a good president or not. I think he would be a good manager of the presidency, if that makes sense. And I always have a hard time with presidents because I don't seek leaders. I know we need leadership in moments, and you need someone with leadership ability. We'll talk about that.
This is Ron Calgo.
And this is Robbie Earhart.
And you're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
That's true. So Trump goes on in his letter after he relitigates the whole part about how he had a perfectly innocent phone call. It was perfect. Phone call was perfect. And Sondland testified that I told him no quid pro quo. I want nothing. I want nothing. I want President Zelensky to do the right thing. Well, understand how the rest of the Republicans pushed back on the testimony that happened before Congress as hearsay, as someone heard someone else say something, and Holmes was sitting right there, could hear the phone up to Sondland's ear when he was guaranteeing them that Zelensky would do whatever he needed, which, by the way, didn't turn out to be the case. Can we understand right now? The quid pro quo that is spoken of so much was, you go to a microphone, you make a speech that these investigations are going to happen. Again, I was right the entire time back when this stuff all came out. I said, this is not about an investigation. People keep using this thing, quote, dig up dirt on his opponent. That's not what he was doing. They attempted to do it. Giuliani knew it was a fail. It wasn't working. There was no there. So what they needed was the recreation of the Comey moment from the last election where Comey came out and said there's still an investigation to be done on Hillary Clinton right before the election, and that dampened her vote and helped Trump. No question that happened. He wants a replay of that. So the deliverable that Sondland is arguing for is go to a microphone, say we're reopening investigations into 2016 and Ukraine meddling. It wasn't Russia, it was Ukraine. And that we're looking into Burisma and Biden. Say it into a microphone. You'll get a working meeting in the Trump White House, which you desperately need to let the Russians know that we're on your side, not theirs. By the way, Trump has had 2 meetings with Sergei Lavrov, former KGB member, in the White House with no note takers, but no working meeting with Zelensky. So Zelensky ultimately did not do that. He did not go to a microphone. He was supposed to have this Fareed Zakaria interview on the 12th, but because of the Politico story coming out, the White House was forced to release the money. Bolton says he was the one who made OMB release it. So weird. It's super weird. But it had to be released by a certain date because there was a 2-week window of them having to need a reauthorization from Congress to put it out because the fiscal end of the year was coming on October 1st. They were scrambling for this deadline. They knew the money was going to go out the door. They had to make Zelensky think it wasn't going out the door unless he said so. It was going out the door anyways. So the thing was, the quid pro quo was announce these phony investigations, which, by the way, will go nowhere and they know it, but announce it so it puts suspicion in the mind of the voter, which is a psyop. It is literally psychological manipulation of the electorate using a foreign influence campaign. You go do that, Mike, you'll get a working meeting. Zelensky never went to that microphone, never gave that speech. Zelensky has never had a working meeting in the White House. The quid pro quo is still ongoing. I don't know how that can be clearer.
Yep.
The aid was released because Trump doesn't have the right to not release the aid. He could delay it on some reason, if there was, like, if the DOD or the NSA had come to him and said, we have issues with this money being released because it's dangerous, we're worried about where it will go. They had all signed off on it months before. He was using this for personal gain. That's all this is about. So this whole no quid pro quo, I want nothing, that statement came after the Politico article came out, when it was fundamentally clear that somebody in OMB under Trump's direction, because he was the only person who could give that direction, had held up the funds. And in exchange for this, quote, dirt on Biden, which is, again, it wasn't that, it was the announcement of an investigation. Can we just remind everyone in media to say what it actually is? Because it presumes something awful. So anyways, that whole no quid pro quo, I want nothing statement that he allegedly said to him in frustration is because his lawyer said, if they find out there was a quid pro quo, we're in big trouble. Mm-hmm. That's what that's the result of. It is literally like being caught in the middle of a bank robbery. The cops are storming in. You throw your gun on the ground, rip off your mask and go, I was just here making a deposit. That doesn't mean you were there. You weren't there. You didn't try to make a deposit when you came to the bank with the gun and the mask on. You were robbing the place. It doesn't become true just because you change your statement after you are caught. So, okay. So the no quid pro quo thing, I call BS on. Okay. And then his next thing was the second claim, so-called obstruction of Congress, is preposterous and dangerous. House Democrats are trying to impeach the duly elected president of the United States for asserting constitutionally based privileges that have been asserted on a bipartisan basis by administrations of both political parties throughout our nation's history. Okay, not true. The obstruction of Congress charge that comes specific to Donald Trump comes from the fact that he gave a blanket no cooperation order to his staff and the people in charge of those documents, even going so far as not allowing Sondland access to his own internal calendar so that he could get his story straight for Congress. Because he went around the order and testified anyways. because they'd already caught him in a lie. And if he didn't go back and testify and they wouldn't let him do it behind closed doors, he was going to go to jail. Sondland had to go back and testify again to clean up his perjury because they let you do that. Go back and change your statement, sir. If you'd like to sit down and tell us the truth, which we have on paper right here. See this paper? This is the truth. This is what you said. This is what really happened. You want to come down and sit down here and tell us that this is what happened because we know this is what happened? You get that chance. If you don't do that, contempt of Congress, lying, and you end up in jail like Michael Cohen. So Sondland had to go down and go around the president's orders. Mulvaney, Rick Perry, everybody else who was involved in this stuff, he's giving them don't cooperate. Give them nothing. No, don't show up across the board. Look, there are certain things that these people were working on 2 separate projects and they fold together, and having them testify would endanger American lives and our national security. That's crucial, right?
Yeah.
And that's been done on a bipartisan level from previous administrations forever. This has not. Trump's blanket immunity that he is saying everybody has from testifying and providing information is the point of the obstruction of Congress rule, because he is trying to just lay a big wet blanket over it all. And there is, a monarchical streak in a big bunch of these folks, including William Barr. William Barr is one of these people who has always been about the supreme executive. Because A, they don't trust the electorate. They don't like the human beings that are out there. And this idea, by the way, that they're only worried about the changing demographic as their primary fear. While I don't doubt that some of them are haunted by it, the Stephen Millers of the world. But in a bunch of these districts, the working class white folks in those areas aren't buying it either. That's what they're afraid of. And
it's the existing demographic.
Right. If it was the future demographic, the plan would be some sort of a long game disenfranchisement instead of this kind of permanent disenfranchisement and dampening of the vote that they do all the time. They've been doing this since the 80s, before even the news of the demographic shift happened. The Paul Weyrich quote.
Right, that's the one.
The goo-goo syndrome, good government. Democrats want everyone to vote. This is true. I want everyone to vote. Even if you disagree with me, I want you to have the right to vote, and I want you to have the right to free speech and free assembly, peaceable assembly. It's kind of important. But Republicans do not. And if you ask them, in an honest moment, they are not for one person, one vote. That's why they are Republicans, and why Democrats are Democrats. They are fighting for the democracy side of this argument. Republicans are fighting for the republic side of this. We got to take a break. We'll be back. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. We'll take your calls after the break. 773-763-9278. Ew, Billy. The only perfect phone call Trump had was to Stormy Daniels. Glach. I did a project with her just recently, the Fiducies, which was to look into the fiduciary criminals running around the globe, the big billionaire ripoff artists and people who hedge fund billionaires who roll in and destroy companies, steal money, and go, and Theranos, the Silicon Valley's, I think technically their biggest fraud ever. I want to say it was $1.2 billion. I have to look up the actual number. Elizabeth Holmes. They had this this technology that they supposedly had that could give you instant blood tests of drug levels in your system. So you would have it would for perfect dosing. And they sold this, as a tech that would work and blah, blah, blah. She kind of absconded $9 billion. They had the value of the company was at $9 billion, and it went to zero in like 24 hours. And here's the thing. There's a lot of people who invested in this technology because they were like, I got some money sitting around. I'm a rich human being. This woman has created a company. What a progressive way to put my money where my mouth is and support an up and coming Silicon Valley startup run by a woman doing a great service. And didn't work out so well. 35 years old. She had a company valued at $9 billion, and it went in the toilet. Just at like that. And so, anyways, we go into we give her an award and some of these other scumbags awards. So, when can we see the Fiducies? Vegas Mel, I don't know when the launch is. I think they're still working on the edit, so I will post it though to my. They're gonna put it up on a YouTube page when it's ready. So I will post it whenever I can. Yeah. Tulsi is this year's Jill Stein doing the same things. See, I don't think she is because I don't think there's that backing there. Jill Stein comes from the kind of Bernie camp of like avowed socialist. She has a real, marketing value for a certain segment of left-wing Democrats who feel disenfranchised, that whole thing. Jill Stein took advantage of that, especially in the wake of Bernie losing. So I don't think Tulsi carries any of that, and I don't think it's enough of a spoiler to do that. So, hey, thanks, Classic. There you go. I was working until 10 p.m., then went out for a while. Got up time for Alan. I'm hungry. Well, thanks for being here, Charleston. Votes for Gabbard also split Democrats and Republicans. I agreed, Carl. That is one of the things about it that that there's probably more support for her from groups of disenfranchised Republicans. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, thanks, Vegas Mel. Looked great after your IV drip. That was fun. It was a good time. Johnny, have you ever done one of those rejuvenation drips? The IVs, not medical IVs. It's like a vitamin and hydration thing.
I've heard about them though.
Yeah, they have them in Vegas.
Fun?
Yeah, there's a place in LA called Next Health where I go and I do cryotherapy, and I really love it. It's crazy, but I like it a lot. And they now have started adding that stuff to it, so you can get a IV drip of vitamins and get yourself hydrated and all that kind of stuff. It's crazy. I've only done it once there, but I'd been so run down from getting sick right before the cruise I did, and then I've been burning it at both ends. At one point my voice was starting to fail. It was really freaking me out. But I've been getting it back. My voice has been healing, which is really nice, but I've had to take whole days off from talking to get it back. And I was like, you know what? This might be worth it.
We were back in 60.
Thank you. So I was like, they have them here in Vegas for hangovers. People get them for dehydration after hangovers, apparently. And they'll even come to your hotel room. They have these little suitcases. It's a little creepy, I gotta say. It's it reminds me of the dude from Minority Report that gives Tom Cruise eyeballs. You know what I mean? Like, don't scratch, never scratch, right? But I was like, I'm gonna go in there and kind of start cleaning up after this, because I'm starting to get where I have a little bit of a break because of the holidays. And I've got to do a little bit of rejuvenation therapy. I don't get to have one of the, what's it called, the Christmas nap like Steph is having. Steph is having a Christmas nap.
I would love a Christmas nap.
They tuck stuff. They pull stuff up.
You're listening to the House Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at HalSparks.com.
I don't care for you if the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Damn, puss-faced little pimpstick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Welcome back to the show. It's the House Parks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. WCPT820.com is the website with links to getting all your favorite liberal talkers and in one place. They have a SoundCloud with links to you can download the shows. Any of the shows that aren't on the Sexy Liberal podcast, that's one of the ways you can get them. So check out the website. And I of course, have HalSparks.com, which has a calendar of my events, which we're updating very soon, I promise, because we just added a bunch of new dates. Second week of January, I will be in Overland Park, Kansas, at a comedy club there, followed immediately by New Jersey the following weekend.
My boss can't make it. I invited her to the show. I was like, hey, Hal's coming. And she was like, no.
Oh, well, we'll do a special fly-in or something like that. And that's right. And more shows to be announced as well. January 11th, Nerd Halen will be at the Gas Lamp in Long Beach. And that's a good time. We had a great show. We had a great show, I got to say, at the Viper Room on Wednesday night.
You guys play Everybody Wants Some?
Yes, we do.
Yay.
It's our second song in the set currently. You know what's and some people know from my stand-up that I do a bit about Somebody Get Me a Doctor from the story about when David Lee Roth was an EMT in New York. You know, he's a trained EMT. Yeah. Which it's
which you and I just know as a fact of something that happened in life.
Yes, but everybody else thinks I'm making up, right?
Yep.
So, and Carl in the chat room says he'll be at the Gas Lamp. Hooray! Thanks for coming, guys, to all the gigs, and everybody in the Blue Patch Brigade who comes down. Love you guys, all the Patreon supporters, fantastic. You guys also in the Patreon group get the Wonky Donk video podcast, the vodcast of that. The audio is available on the Sexy Liberal Podcasting Network, but you can see the lovely and talented Jackie and I live on camera if you become a supporter of the show. So give that, and that's for free. And I do the show for free. This is all just extra stuff. You get extra stuff for doing this, but what you're really doing is supporting the show so it exists. And I thank you for it. More than I can imagine. And the lovely and talented Rob Glenn, who gifted us the laptop that actually runs the show now. Thank you, Rob. Bless you. We have a phone call tomorrow, he and I scheduled, to come up with a premium gift for all the Patreon people that will be milled on his 3D cutter that he has. We're brainstorming. I'm very excited about it. So... But it's going to be an anniversary gift, so people who are like 6 month or longer supporters, they'll get it.
Does it have to be related to you? Can it just be like a Baby Yoda or something?
Yes, it has to be related to me. It's all about me.
Whatever.
And I don't want to get fined by Disney for giving away.
Take you down so hard.
Oh my God! For like handing out stainless steel Baby Yoda necklaces. I'm in prison for what?
Right.
I'm definitely.
Oh boy.
I'm definitely.
That pecking order would be rough.
Oh, horrible! I'm definitely getting the top bunk. So, all right. I think we have some callers, so let's jump in and see who they are real quick before I get on another rant. We're almost near the first break, and I do that. So, who do we have there, Devin?
First, we have Jeff out in Mississippi.
Excellent. Hey, Jeff. Welcome.
No, it's Seth, and it's Theo from the chat room.
Oh yeah. How are you?
I'm doing okay. And by the way, if you do ever give me a Patreon gift, I'm willing to settle for a watch. Just give me a watch and I'm happy.
A watch? Okay, that's great. We'll make a whole watch. I will make some HSRPM watch faces for Apple watches and Fitbit watches. Maybe does that count? Maybe I could do that. Anyways, but go ahead. Yeah. By the way, you sound slightly underwater. I'm just saying. So, yeah.
It's my Bluetooth headset.
Right.
Hang on a minute.
That's all right. Gamers, we are all, so I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep. Sounds great. Go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to actually get your opinion. I wanted to get your opinion on something. So on my local news station, they were talking about a high school out in Long Beach, Mississippi. They were showing the impeachment hearings being played out on TV and making the students watch it. Because it'd be a learning experience. And the weird thing is, this might make you guys feel a bit old, but when I was in third grade, and I was in third grade when Clinton got impeached.
Yeah.
Not once did they ever show any news clips when I was in the third grade.
I think I know why, though. I think I kind of know why, Eo. I think because Johnny, I think is right there with me. What do you think the reason is, Johnny?
I think because it wasn't about no knobs with the Trump.
That's right.
Woo! That's my political response.
Right. I think the real reason was the topic of conversation in the Clinton impeachment was not family friendly. Whereas articles about this and abuse of power when talking to a foreign government and the laws around that are a conversation worth having. Now, again, whether or not third graders need to be watching that at that point is a debatable point. I don't know.
I agree.
But definitely like middle school, high school, social studies classes, I think that's not a bad idea.
There's no way a third grader is going to get anything out of that.
And taking clips from it would be a mistake because that would unfortunately create the illusion of bias for whomever didn't like the coverage. So you kind of just have to go, we're going to watch about 20 minutes of it. I don't know what they're talking about right now. We're just going to go in live to it, and then we're going to discuss afterwards if you saw anything about it. Now, it's a little hard to keep order in your classroom if your kids suddenly start thinking that that's what a disagreement about policy looks like. That when the Jim Jordans and the Collins people like pipe in, it's a little hard to kind of say like, okay, keep your voice down, state your point, but you don't have to yell. Like, if you're trying to keep a class together, I wouldn't recommend it any more than I would recommend the sort of British Parliament side of things. Order. Right. But
for the record, how I attended high school in Biloxi or in Gulfport, and we had a debate team class, but we were allowed to scream our heads off. But I never attended that class. I wish I did.
Right.
I might have been more politically active back in those days, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
But from what I heard, everybody was allowed to scream their heads off over anything.
I'm not I'm not a fan of that as a methodology. I'm just not. Modern debate tactic, unfortunately, if you watch how debate teams work together, they speak so fast because someone else is keeping track of the debate. So they sound like the dude selling micro machines in the 80s and 90s. They're bringing this whole like Brian Williams complaining that he had to complain. They read like that because it's almost like there's a judge sitting there checking off. Well, they made that argument, they made that argument, they made that argument, and then the other side has to refute, and says the baseline of it ends up being this kind of stylistic speed talking thing, when ultimately a debate is about being able to convince people who may not agree with you, either are diametrically opposed, which is the gold standard of debate. You can convince people who are against you that you are correct in your argument, or people who are simply have made no decision. And those folks are primary to who you are attenuating your debate to. If you're just trying to, check off boxes for a judge, you're not really learning a debate strategy. Not that's useful anyways. And so I think it's right. So
that's probably a good thing I didn't take part in debate team in high school then.
That's true, because I don't think you and I need any more reason to get kind of wound up and yell. I mean, I find myself tamping it back as well. Even, it's interesting
Which is
too.
My least favorite Theo song.
Which one? Wound Up to Yell?
Wound Up and Yell.
Oh, Wound Up and Yell. That's yeah. I thought that was in the on the Rockstar soundtrack. No, that was Stand Up and Shout. Stand up and shout. Right. So, anyways, you're gonna look. See what you did, EO? We got diverted. Now we got to take a break. Thanks for calling in, brother. I appreciate it. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk, infotainmentwars.com, patreon.com/HouseSparks. Come on. You enjoy the show for free all year long. It's a couple of cups of coffee a month. I mean, yes. You watch it. You check yourself, young man. I'm here every week. You check yourself before you wreck yourself. I'm here every week. Rain or shine.
I don't know
sick,
what's wrong with you.
Yeah, healthy or ill. We'll be back.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Thank you, Lisa Mia Moore. Mia Moore, I get it. That's nice.
Mia Moore.
Yeah, I got it. That's cool. The heat is on the house, and I'm literally sweating on a winter day. It's embarrassing. Like, it's hot in here.
What's the high today?
Like, in Vegas? I don't know. Hey, Siri, what's the weather like in Vegas today?
It's currently partly cloudy and 50 degrees in Las Vegas. Expect mostly cloudy skies starting in the morning. Today's high will be 55 degrees, and the low will be 44.
Got that, guys?
Of course, your Siri has the Australian accent.
Yeah.
I love the Australian accent.
Matt Monroe is asking, how do you become a patron? Go to patreon.com. See the link down in the lower corner right over here. This one right here. At patreon.com/HouseSparks. There's a site there. You can just sign up. It's there's different levels, $5, $10, $20 a month, even $50 a month. By the way, the folks at the $50 level who get scripts, look what's here. They're getting signed and going out. So we finally were able to do that. So yay. So the wrangling I do behind the scenes, it's ridiculous. Go Bucks. I love watching your show every Saturday. It's awesome, and I don't normally watch political stuff or vids. Well, thank you, Go Bucks, for even being here. I try and keep it entertaining and decent as much as I can.
Me too.
No, you don't. Quit it.
No, I
We're back in 60, Hal, and you have 2 callers.
Excellent.
I try to do something, that's for sure.
Yeah. My favorite debates are with Christopher Hitchens. Yeah, he was a solid debater. I mean, he had nice, he was
the atheist guy?
Yeah, he was basically
yeah, I like that guy.
Of sort of from the Gore Vidal school. You know what I mean? Gore Vidal also debated similarly, like they came out of the same
like zombie shampoo.
Gore Vidal, yeah, that's right. It's shampoo is always, it's only for redheads because no matter what, it'll dye you. You look like Carrie when you get out of the shower. But yeah, they have this kind of like patient, razor sharp dig. It's a quality I appreciate. It is not one I have.
He was very confident, that guy.
Because I do a charm offensive, and then, well, I don't want to give away all my tricks.
Now let's get back with House Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
By the way, we got sidetracked from the letter, the 6-page letter, which goes on and on. This is actually, I'm going to read to you. This is a whole paragraph. This is all by itself. This is separate from all other text. He just wrote this, and this needed to stand out on its own, okay? You are the ones interfering in America's elections. You are the ones subverting America's democracy. You are the ones obstructing justice. You are the ones bringing pain and suffering to our republic for your own selfish, personal, political, and partisan gain. Really, dude? Really?
That's a mindset.
He does use sort of the Gish Gallop aspect of things, like just throw the accusations at your opponent and hope that there are enough of your supporters go around yes-anding it like a bad improv troupe. Let's take we got another couple callers, so yeah. Who do we have first?
Next we have Robert out in Florida.
Excellent. Oh, hey, Robert. How you doing there, pal? Good to see you.
Say what? Hello.
Yeah, I hear you.
Hear me?
Yep. Sound great.
Hello?
Yep.
All right, I just want to wish you and everybody a happy holiday.
Thank you.
All right, let's start off with two fast things real quick, real fast. I'll let other people talk today.
Robert,
he keeps saying that
you're not from
the
Florida.
Ukraine, My accent's New York, Rochester, but I'm not giving that away.
Mhm.
I've earned that.
I don't buy it.
Anyway,
Go ahead. Yeah.
Before I was rudely interrupted there.
Johnny. All right.
That's me.
Whatchamacallit? Donald always says that Ukraine was the one interfering in the elections and this, that, that's what he's got to go with. You know, he said that, he laid that down, and he's got to. But here's the thing: why doesn't one Democrat stand up and say, "Yeah," and that's why we sent a lot of legislation that's parked in the Turtles' shell over there about protecting the next election.
Right.
You know? If you were sincere and genuine about election security, then you would actually pass something and protect our elections. But you know why he doesn't, because it's not true.
Right. Well spotted.
The other thing is we need listen. We've been given a beautiful gift this week by the evangelical guy with the not ET, whatever ET or whatever
CT,
whatever the religious.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So basically, we got something there. We got to do what they do. We got to conquer and divide. Basically, we got to say and start a whisper campaign that that editor. Well, he got his marching orders from Pence. Yeah, Pence is the really one that started this whole. He's the whistleblower for this. He's the reason. Because and let him go out and have a shake his head and say maybe it is Pence back there trying to get me out of here. Even if it's not true, we just got to get them to hate each other. And then we win.
Well, they kind of. I appreciate the tactic. I'm glad you're thinking tactically. By the way, they do. They don't like each other. There's a lot of stories about friction between them. My theory is, by the way, from a Democratic standpoint, is because this news has been coming out lately that that Pence knew all about this. He was clearly a part of it. He was carrying those messages back and forth. There's no way he was out of the loop, right? And in the fact that he knew, the strategy would be Pelosi wants to make sure that there's going to be at least the semblance of a trial happening in the Senate before she pushes the articles forward, before she delivers them to the Senate and they begin to act on them. Then, as that happens, let's say in the middle of that going on, because she doesn't have anything on her docket, they've got people over there that are going to be running this. The managers will be in charge of delivering this to the Senate. There might be a couple of weeks of this. There might be 3 days of it. But the first day of it, maybe the second, if there's going to be, they know for one that it's going to be a second day. Then you put forward a judicial committee or intelligence committee, then judicial committee, investigations into what Pence knew and when. That's
here's a better way to do it, hell.
Yeah.
I agree with you, and I think that's probably the strategy.
That is, yeah.
But you know what? Let Donnie's never really wanted Pence. Remember how he got all excited the day that Pence's plane almost crashed into LaGuardia?
Right.
Because he really didn't want. He knew he needed the evangelicals to show up and vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, I think he thinks he can convince them of anything, that he can actually walk on water. So basically, if you give him an out, which he always wanted to put Ivanka on the ticket or one of his kids on the ticket, someone he knows that, God forbid, well, now it's too late because he's been impeached, but if he ever was to get impeached before, he would have a full pardon on the other side of it, But basically, I really think that I do know this. I think Nancy is calculating. Maybe she does what you say, but even if she doesn't do what you say, and it does get to the Senate and it does have teeth, and they get the witnesses they want through the courts.
Yep.
I think Pence is the dead ticket. He couldn't win Indiana last election. How the hell is he going to win a national election? I mean, nobody likes that guy. Nothing. Nobody.
Right. Well, that's
my off on the shelf has more charisma.
I agree. I mean, I think that's what you hear a lot about people is like, if Trump goes out, we get Pence who's worse, which is nonsense. For two reasons. One, Pence would at least give the illusion of not being a gangster for his own benefit. So he has got an entirely different crowd he is trying to protect himself in. That's his soft landing is in the Christian community. It always has been. And if he loses that, after the office, he's messed up. He's done. And he wants a legacy. He actually does care. He's also not hooked into this gangster world the way Trump is. This hasn't been his modus operandi. It isn't there. Secondly, he's not the dude you reelect. He does not have the Trump cult. The Trump cult does not support
that's it.
Pence.
Right.
There's no re-electing. There's no way he runs against any. Pence is not going to run against any of the Democrats and win. Just not at all. And if he's, what's he going to run on? An accomplice ticket? Who, and who he would bring in with him to satisfy the Trumps, the Trump crowd? Who's going to be Pence's Trump VP? You know what I mean? If you're talking about satisfying the other side of the ticket, oh my God. So is he going to run with Jim Jordan or Nunes? Yeah, Jim Jordan, Nunes. John Boyd would be perfect. But there's no there. There are no weirdly sycophantic rallies. There is no Lindsey Graham backing Mike Pence. There is no.
No, you got the Scott Baio, maybe.
It's true.
I'll let somebody else talk. I love you.
America.
You have a good year.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. Have a good time down there.
No.
America loves Chachi. That's the important thing. President Trump feels very deeply that the American people know that Chachi's got their back. And again, you're not going to catch me being one of those people who thinks artists and musicians and actors don't have a worthwhile political voice. Just on that alone, I'm not going to, it's how you're capable of backing up what you say in an argument as opposed to America. That doesn't help. All right.
What happened to Chachi?
I don't know that wasn't always true. Wow. And sometimes the party shifts under your feet and you wake up and the people around you are more extreme than they were when you were younger, and you followed them along because you're your friend, and your echo chamber, your circle, has gotten more intense about this stuff. It happens with.
I was so on board for blah blah blah.
Yeah, and then yeah. Well, the people on the left have that too to some degree. I even talked about when I was on Dora's show about I make a joke that I'm a radical centrist now because God forbid we should actually listen to people. And I don't mean the Republican Party right now. I mean. I've said this before, but in the Democratic Party, you can have a legit conversation between liberal and conservative, genuine philosophy, right? People really believe certain things, and you can work that out. You can hash that out in a democratic setting. The Republicans have gone off the deep end. That's not who I'm talking about. But what used to be sort of really left liberal, the most liberal senator in the world, the most liberal congressperson people used to warn you about is pretty normal, but not just in the Democratic Party, but across the board in the United States, as far as support for gay rights, women's rights, overall, there's kind of a normalizing of that stuff. The country has moved from what used to be called center right to, I would argue, center left. And you can fight the overcorrection. Both parties fight overcorrection all the time. But those voices, those extreme voices, are also valuable because they show you that, they're pathfinders. They're scouts into the wilderness of ideas. And sometimes they come back with bad news. Sometimes they come back, with a giant beard and with weevils living in it, and having eaten like Donner Partied the rest of the people that were with them, going, I found the way to the sun. Okay, I think let's not go down that path. There's not enough food and people go nuts. And that's true of the Tea Party Republicans and the Freedom Caucus. And it's true of like the Antifa world, I would argue, right? So it doesn't take away the value of people who explore in those areas and seek to find a better path that may not have been walked before. But you can't convince everybody to just run down that trail unless you can prove that it's a viable path. And that's what the debate is all about, right? That's why we have democracy. That's why you weigh it against what will happen in future. And it's an incredibly valuable, it is the value of democracy. the folks that argue like it would be a great monarchy if it was my side, who don't realize they sound just like George Bush, are weird. We got to take a break. It's the Hal Sparks Radio Program, Mega Worldwide. We'll be back right after this with more of your calls, 773-763-9278.
And we still have one caller, Hal.
Okay, excellent. Did you watch the debates, Johnny?
No, I didn't.
You didn't? I mean, you're not gonna learn anything except that everybody has gotten a little better at refining their message.
Was it last night?
Was it last night? Oh boy. Chat room, did you guys watch them all the way through?
Because I was rewatching The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm. You were?
Yeah.
Why?
I like it.
Ugh. Rogue One is the only Star Wars movie that's been made since the original ones that's any good.
Ugh.
Yep. Sorry. It's true. You can hate.
Poorly written.
You can, F your feelings, okay? Facts don't lie. It's a fact.
No, it's not feelings. It's just a bunch of people I don't care about.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're the people who got the plans for the Death Star into R2.
Yeah, but it's not a good movie. We already knew how it was going to end.
No, we didn't. We didn't know.
No, I did.
Well,
they got the plans.
But we didn't know what was going to happen to them. Whether they all died or whether it was.
But if you don't care about them, who cares?
Oh, you're mean. You're just a mean person.
But that's just good bad movie talk.
And that's why you like the Last Jedi.
That's funny as home videos.
Right, and the Last Jedi. And yeah.
Yeah, because I care about those people.
I don't. Yeah, no. Mark Reed says Trump is not funny, just cruel. The dingle comments hurt him in Michigan. Good. Yeah, agreed. Hold on, let me get this over here. We can get some of these posts up online. Yeah,
Back in 60, guys.
Besides the whole saying the loud part, the quiet part loud, I don't know what the upside is for these idiots when Trump does this. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Why do you think that helps you? Now, granted, it's part of that zero filter thing that I think appeals to some people for him.
Definitely. No matter what he says, while the filter is removed, they're happy there's no filter.
Right. I want more one-on-ones and spontaneous reaction to issues. I get, the town halls are great. I prefer them in some ways to regular debates in those regard, because ultimately there's very little debate except around the margins in the Democratic Party, especially now that the Warren and Sanders plans for healthcare are almost identical to the Biden plan.
I'm Dick Kay from Back on the Beat, and here is the Mega Worldwide Radio Program with Hal Sparks.
The chat room has gotten off into a side fire because of Johnny's comments about watching The Last Jedi and to get ready for watching Rise of Skywalker, I guess. Is that what your plan is? Some people did watched all 20 movies or something like that. Now, I don't know who would do that, who enjoys, Marvel movies perhaps. But that's
I did part of that for the Marvel movies.
Yeah. Some of them, it's good to catch up on, the details of the last one. And it's, if you're not one of these people who's just online about it and just living in the hashtags, it's valuable. But I was that way about the debates in a lot of ways. And there was a lot of toss around in the debates. Let's take these callers. I don't want to get I don't want to get too far afield before I started that, because literally in the chat room, MS Stacks just asked, is anyone watching Designated Survivor? Which is which was one of my summer's favorite shows. She burned that show down. Anyway, so who do we have, Devin?
We have Old Bob out in Indiana.
Old Bob. Hey, Old Bob. How are you?
Oh, good morning, Hal and little Johanny.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. I was able to listen to most of the hearings, and I was very impressed by the great orator from Georgia, Doug Collins.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that disappointed me and probably confused a lot of people if they, tuned in while he was speaking was if he would have started out when he first began by saying, "And now my impression of a loudmouth hillbilly."
Right. Yeah.
But it was just.
He could take it on the road. Yeah.
I think. Yeah, it was. I think the most most over the top of all of them on the right side of.
Do you think that's I have a curious. Oh, Bob, I have a question for you. Do you think that was part of a strategy to make the footage of him appear like it was from 1965 if it's played in the future, so that it kind of gets him off the hook? Like how we're sort of a little more forgiving about people who are talking in the 30s or the 50s, and you go, well,
right.
They didn't know what we know now. So if you play back his footage compared to like people who look like they're from the present or even the future, like the Democratic side, but him sitting there going, "I think this is mighty ridiculous, sir." Like you seem like some sort of character from I say, no, sir.
Yeah, you're thinking of the Foghorn Leghorn.
That exactly.
Right on.
Yeah,
well, that could be because otherwise it was just lame brain stupid. So he would have to have some kind of gimmick behind it. I just can't. It exhausts me even talking about it. Have a good holiday.
Yeah, thank you, Old Bob. I appreciate it. Yeah, he's absolutely right. And that's the issue that the Republicans have right now is that they have to make. They've been making over the last couple of years, especially since Trump got elected, the emotional argument is the left's argument, and they are the party of facts. And that the right-wing thing has done these kind of F your feelings T-shirts, and facts don't care about your feelings, and the left is all emotional, and the right cares about facts and statistics, and you just have to learn to deal, and they're the voice of reason and legitimate evidence, And this would be their argument about climate change, for example. They will, if there's, if they find two scientists that don't agree that human pollution is having an effect on the climate, they go, well, obviously it's not unanimous, so you can't use the word unanimous. And you're like, dude, okay. 198 versus the 2 that have been hired by petrochemical companies. Yeah, okay, fine. Unanimous minus the guys who are now working for Exxon. Are you happy now? But they would say that that's the emotional argument, and they make the factual argument. Meanwhile,
anyone ever said yes after "Are you happy now"? Yes,
I have. I will. I'll correct somebody on something, and they'll go, "Okay, fine." So blah, and I'll go, "Yep, good." Now, moving on, because I'm that kind of nerd. But that being said, which we'll talk about in the post show, whether nerd is a hate crime or not. That was a fun piece of news that happened this week, which should obviously make Nerd Halen a difficulty for all of us. But in the impeachment hearings, both in the Intelligence and the Judicial Committee, and in this letter that Trump sent, this is the emotional argument. There is no, besides him, I suppose, arguing that Sondland said he said something, which again is hearsay, which they seem to think is not only valuable when they think it benefits them. But the rest of their whole argument is like, this is more from the letter. This is nothing more than an illegal, partisan attempted coup that will, based on recent sentiment, badly fail at the voting booth. You are not just after me as president, you are after the entire Republican Party. But because of this colossal injustice, our party is more united than it has ever been before. History will judge you harshly as you proceed with this impeachment charade. Your legacy will be that of turning the House of Representatives from a revered legislative body into a star chamber of partisan persecution. That is an emotional appeal. You will be judged harshly by history. You're trying to divide us. We're standing together. We're squad strong over at the Republican Party. And you can't, and if you go after me, you go after all of us, which is not true. You hear that, Republicans? If you voted as a Republican, your vice president, who's supposed to take over the duties of president, if something happens to your president, whether through illness and incapacitation or by committing a crime and being impeached, you still get your second choice to run stuff, and that guy still gets to appoint judges. That guy still gets to sign bills. There's no coup unless Trump doesn't trust Pence at all to sign the rest of his stuff, which I don't get, since most of what Trump has signed and pushed through from a Republican standpoint has been drafted by the Heritage Foundation and Stephen Miller for him, and Pence would sign all of it. So you're not being denied your rights as a Republican voter because he is being held to a lawful standard. So this thing that it's a partisan attempted coup, the fact that he uses the word coup is kind of, it's absurd. It's obviously, if anybody took this seriously, which I don't know why anyone would, it would be a very dangerous statement from a person who was in control of their mental faculties. If you're like, oh, this person I view as smart and well considered and well read, and who knows how many Corinthians there are, has just written this letter that he believes that something is going on, that he believes it's a coup. And he's a pretty smart, he's read up on, he's a former, he's argued cases before the Supreme Court. He's calling this a coup. Uh-oh, perhaps we should draw this back a bit. But it doesn't. This comes from someone where everyone, including the Republicans who are defending him, know is complete jibber jabber. This letter is, might be to Pelosi as far as Trump is concerned, but releasing it, this is just something they can read aloud. It's script for Hannity.
Right.
That's what this is. You're supposed to take this letter, and Judge Janine, and put it in your teleprompter and go, this is nothing more than an illegal, partisan, attempted coup that will, based on recent sentiment, fail miserably at the voting booth. Whine. So he goes, and he goes back to this also, too. He goes, perhaps most insulting of all is your false display of solemnity. You apparently have so little respect for the American people that you expect them to believe that you are approaching this impeachment soberly, reservedly, and reluctantly. Someone else is recrafting this for him. It's so great. It's like when his tweets change, the punctuation works and there's no misspellings, and you go, oh, that was inserted from a White House press office. The dude from his campaign who has access to his account, who, by the way, uses an unsecure phone too. Because he doesn't work in the White House, technically. Since the moment I won the election, the Democratic Party has been possessed by impeachment fever. There is no reticence. This is not a somber affair. Okay, I think he thinks that when she says we do this with a heavy heart and approach it with solemnity, that we're solemn about him being impeached, or we're reluctant about him being impeached, or or saddened by impeaching him.
Right, not just the concept of
Yes.
what's happening to the nation.
What everybody's doing this, that is involved in this, is very depressed that they're in office when another terrible thing has happened in our government that needs cleanup. It's lame. It's sad. It's pathetic that this dude, the day after he dodged a bullet with the Mueller testimony, the day after, called Zelensky and having been negotiating a quid pro quo for months, laid the hammer down and said, I'm going to need you to do us a favor, though. Actually said it. And then had Sondland and Giuliani and Barr negotiating with Zelensky to make this speech, to do this interview, to sell this investigation horse crap, that they were going to open an investigation, which there was no basis for. They want that news piece. He was so emboldened by how the Mueller report and the testimony itself was so softball that he went and committed another crime. All their complaints, by the way, this impeachment fever, and they've been after him since the very beginning. Guess what, dude? If he hadn't done this with Zelensky, if he had let the other thing go, if he had not tried to use this to go after Biden and had just ridden on his economic numbers and literally done bills between now and the end of his first term that are largely bipartisan, just like work with Mitch. I don't want to tell him how to win.
Yeah, he would have had a hell of a shot.
He would have had a shot. He would have absolutely had a shot. None of this would have happened. There might have been frustrated Democrats who were still going after the Mueller stuff, but it wouldn't have gotten anywhere. He did this. He screwed up again. The quote comes from Liar Liar, and I can't say it on the air. We'll be back right after this. Hey, people who are in the chat room and are out there, when you come in, do you get those Epic Times ads on my channel? Because they just broomed a bunch of those folks from Twitter and from Facebook. But there's still, the Epic Times ads are running all over here, and they pop up for some people. And they're aimed at Democratic voters.
Just a heads up, pal. We have 4 callers because it's the end of the show as always.
Of course.
Yeah, well, technically 3. We got one guy. I don't know what he's listening to, but I don't think he's listening to your show because he's talking about way other stuff.
Right. I have an ad blocker. That's smart. Stay away from social nets. None here. Yeah, Facebook doesn't have them. It'll be a different thing. It's mainly on the YouTube channel that those ads come up. And I don't know how, there should be, one would think, if you don't, you may not have the right as on YouTube to pick your advertisers, unless you have at some point, like you've stacked up, if you have 1 million followers or something, I get that they would allow you to, scoop ads and pick only people, but you should be able to target
5 and 60.
Thank you. One particular bad actor in the whole thing. You know what I mean? If you're like vegan channels shouldn't have to have butcher block ads if they don't want them specifically. Right. Like anything but. There should be or if you have a Christian, like Mormon channels shouldn't have to have alcohol ads. If you have an objection to a specific type. You may be able to allow ads. I don't know what that part of it is. There doesn't seem to be a switch for it. I might have to write a letter to YouTube and go, hey, can you stop this nonsense? Because it's gross. I don't like it. And thank you guys for the super chats today. Greatly appreciated. I want to make sure. Oh, it's the wrong computer. Make sure I saw everybody who was on there. Where's the studio? No, that's not what I want.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. It's now time for the happy ending. Yay!
Yay! Welcome back to the show.
I gotta quit being surprised by that.
It's great. By the way, we have a bunch of callers jumping in at the tail end, of course, but we'll only have time for a couple. So let's grab the one that was on the longest first.
First, we have Alan out in Crown Point.
Cool. Hey, Alan, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Hale. I just wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
And
You too.
You're mentioning. I want to mention too Ike. You mentioned him last week, and we're going to be praying for Ike.
Yep.
And all your family during this season for any treatment that he's been going through or will go through. And we just wish that all the best for Ike and God be with him. And we celebrate the reason for the season is Jesus Christ.
All right.
So I just want to thank you for what you're doing, Phil.
Absolutely. I appreciate that call, and thank you very much. And Merry Christmas to you and yours as well. And I'm sure Ike appreciates it to no end. He's always been a valuable voice over the last couple of years as I've gotten to know him as he calls in. We have a nice family here in our chat room of regulars and people who join us and those who've called in. And by the way, Carl from Nashville, if you're out there, Merry Christmas. Appreciate it. Let's grab another call real quick. It's really sweet.
All right, next we have Peter out in Chicago.
Cool. Peter? Yeah.
Hello, Hal.
Hey, go ahead.
Democrats have I'm sorry?
Go ahead. Yeah.
You there? Yeah. Hey, the Democrats have severely hit the presidency, the office, by impeaching Trump.
Why?
And now...
Why?
One, abuse of Congress. So any House that doesn't get what they want can charge abuse of Congress and impeach the president.
No, well, the standard that they put forward. Hold on, wait. The standard they put forward was the blanket immunity and the blanket denial, and not any president can specifically offer reasons for why they will deny certain people, individuals to come. But the idea that no one on staff, no one will be allowed, and no documents will be given, even those that pertain and do not have any reason to be held back. That's what caused the obstruction charge. It was the blanket. No, it was the blanket charge of it. No other president has ever done that.
When things like that are done, you go to the courts, and the courts decide it. The third branch of the government.
Yeah, but this was they believe that he's in an ongoing criminal enterprise in regard to his manipulation of it, and the election is coming up.
Yeah, but they also believe that hookers in Russia were peeing on the guy. I mean, come on.
That wasn't a charge. That never. No, that never ended up in any of the charges. Did it?
No, not the charges, but that's what they were claiming. So
who cares? That doesn't end up being a legally valuable element of the equation. There's a lot of people that believe that the president, by the way, there's a lot of people that believe that the president himself, was engaged in all kinds of stuff, or that there's a Clinton body count or that kind of stuff. Who cares?
Right. And I can believe.
During the whole thing about Whitewater and the Vince Foster stuff, that was all ongoing during the impeachment around the Lewinsky affair. It had no bearing on the fact that he had done something illegal, and he got called on it, and that's what happens.
The point is Ambassador Sondland himself, under direct testimony, was asked, "Did the president tell you?" He said, "No, I presumed." You can't impeach someone on presumed second and third hand knowledge. The Democrats.
Well, then you can't consider what he said exculpatory either.
The proof is Schumer wants more witnesses because he knows that the House screwed it up. And if you guys can't admit that, then that's fine.
No, this is a trial. This is a trial. You cannot have a trial without fact witnesses. Look, the way this lays out legally is very normal. There is nothing weird about any of this stuff. The House Intelligence Committee was effectively the investigatory part of it. The Judiciary Committee did the indictment, and the Senate does the trial. If you don't want an actual legal proceeding, or you think that shouldn't be allowed in any legal case, then make the case that our jurisprudence concept in the United States has value. Otherwise, stop pretending you care about the rule of law. Like it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. If you don't care about Russia interfering in our elections, for example, if that doesn't bother you, then say so.
How come you don't allow conservatives to talk?
What conservatives? You're not a conservative. I'm not talking to a conservative. I'm talking to somebody who will defend Trump no matter what he does. This has nothing to do with conservatism.
He's done nothing wrong, though. What he has done...
He withheld military aid to get benefit for his political campaign.
That's why they're doing the impeachment.
He withheld military aid and from an ally to benefit his political campaign.
No.
Himself. Yes. Yes.
They're going to get picked up amongst all the corruption. That's what he helped.
No, he didn't. When has he ever cared about corruption up till now? In Russia, for example, Vladimir Putin makes 143. Wait, listen to me. Vladimir Putin makes $143,000 a year and has a $200 billion net worth. Has Trump ever complained about corruption in Russia? Erdogan has murdered his own people, and he gave them tacit input to go into Syria. Does he care about corruption? Has he ever cared about corruption anywhere it didn't benefit him personally? No.
Trump did not collude with Russia, and you guys keep going back to Russia. He's been tougher on Russia than Obama ever did.
That's not true. That's not true at all. Everything he's done to sanction Russia was by a veto-proof majority vote in the Senate from House bills. He didn't want to do any of this stuff, and he's been trying to fix the sanctions. That's what this whole thing is about. Goofball. Bye. Merry Christmas. I hope you have a great holiday. See you later. Yeah. Thanks, Devin. It was fun.
Why always at the end?
Well, because if they feel like they can, gish gallop to the end, and I get jammed for time, so I won't be able to answer certain things. And then you go, well, the things you didn't answer are things I'm right on. That's how it works. It's a game.
I wonder if he got a gift card to the Olive Garden for that or something.
No, he gets a free taco bowl at Trump Tower if they allow you in. But of course, most of the people who defend Trump largely on a working class level aren't welcome. That being said,
imagine how much on a personal level he would hate his supporters, just when he saw them.
Yeah, that's the irony. Is I would spend more time talking to them in a conversation than he would. I have no doubt about that. I'll argue with them. And here's the thing: to anybody who says that people shouldn't be talked over or that's a sign of disrespect or whatever, look, I talk to you. If I don't respect you, I'll just let you talk because I think you're a child and I'm not worried about having a conversation with you. To me, arguing with you, vehemently back and forth and overlapping with you and pushing my point means we're engaged and I respect you as a human being. If I don't respect you as a human being, I'll just sit back and let you talk because I don't take you seriously at all. So there. Stick around for the post show. You guys are wonderful. Johnny Million, Merry Christmas.
Understand our relationship more.
Hey, Devin, working on that mute button for him, right? Okay, so we'll have a great holiday, my brother. We'll see you guys next weekend. We're reporting live from, I'll be in Cleveland, actually, which is lovely. Yeah. So have a wonderful Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy winter solstice, which is today. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. Devin, thank you so much. Give Doris a big hug for me. Everybody at the station, Matt, everybody have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, Al. See you next week.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Devin.
Yeah. So,
bye, Johnny.
Holy smokes. Whoops. I got it the wrong thing.
Abuse of Congress.
Yeah.
So maddening.
Yeah. That part's hilarious. O'clock. I don't I mean, it's nearly impossible to wrap your head around. Those are talking points. He's basically simply
right. And then there's just the whole idea of not accepting that abuse of Congress is what the whole Mitch McConnell gang did at the beginning of Obama's term.
Right. Exactly. So there is clearly a reason to think that like they're just sort of repeating the phrase. They're just repeating phrases they've heard. They hope that works out. It matters to them, but only to the extent that it can. Oh, look at that. There's a whole. Okay. Take this out. Hold on. There you go. Sorry, Kay. But your giant statement is a little weird. I apologize, but it's got to go. Like you can't just write a dissertation on Satan in my stream feed. That's a little annoying. But
I don't know.
Oh, I don't. No. I'm fine with a dissertation about satanic influence in the world if you want to talk about that. But in context to the show I'm actually giving.
Oh, okay.
But and I'm not against anybody's religious beliefs. You guys obviously know that. I'm a strict Voltairean in that regard, and similar with free speech and whatnot. I may not share your beliefs, but I will fight for your to the death.
Dude, where's my car?
Voltairean? No, that's Zoltan. Don't get them mixed up, dude. Please.
That is my bread and butter.
I know.
Machiavellian. I'm killing myself.
That's why everyone knows you are an asshole. Get away from me, you moron. It's my best Malkovich. That's the best I can do, I think.
Yeah.
Are you insane? You fool. Right. Just literally being able to, use diction as a weapon.
Yeah, that's a blunt object.
Yeah, he plays Poirot in a new series. Is it on Amazon Prime or is it on Netflix? One of those. I started watching it because I'm a big Agatha Christie fan, and it's all about Poirot coming out of retirement kind of thing. But it's so just ripe with all this stuff. And just Carl Malkovich from Burn After Reading. Yeah. That's because you are a moron, right? He thinks that's a schwinn. I love Brad Pitt in that movie so much. Brad Pitt is so good in Burn After Reading. Have you seen it?
I don't think I've seen
Coen Brothers movie. It's so great. Yes, I'm still live. Hello. And Carl says, Hal, have you seen Knives Out? It's great. I have seen it. I like it. And I think it's a great sort of inversion of the murder mystery style. It is, and it's incredibly watchable on the big screen, considering the fact that it is it's a straight up Agatha Christie style. I'm going to gather everybody in the living room and explain how it all happened kind of movie, which is an old system, plot wise.
Oh yeah.
If you ever want to see
it's like Death Trap.
Yeah. Oh man, Death Trap was amazing. I think that was my first gay kiss I ever saw in a movie as a kid.
Same.
Yeah. Because that was one of the plot twists in it. And I was like, and I very distinctly remember, because it was like 1983? Was it? 1980, something like that? 2? Might have been earlier than that. Damn.
Yeah, probably 2.
Yeah. So I was 12. 12-year-old Hal Sparks living in Kentucky. Went to see Death Trap.
Did you have your mustache yet?
No, I did not. No. And saw two men kissing in a movie and went, oh, I see. Okay. Oh, they're gay. All right. That was my reaction.
Yeah, that's pretty much my reaction.
Yep, that was a reaction for a lot of people for a very long time. Still is for most people. Honestly, that kiss was the real death trap, says Tom. I have not watched the last Star Wars movie, but Johnny's going to go see it, and he'll tell us all about it at some point afterwards. You give us Michael Caine. Michael Caine. I am Michael Caine. I kissed Christopher Reeves, and what could be better? But in all honesty, not that I was in a very progressive area of the country, but large parts of the world had still moved on well before the rest of the country caught up. Honest to God, it's funny looking back on that, the racial moments and the LGBT moments in film before we became very aware of it as before we watched them like a hawk and we let them exist. It was amazing how comfortably they fit into cinema for a long time. I mean, even I think the big one was probably, no pun intended, was The Crying Game.
Yeah.
Where I remember literally in the first 10 minutes when, spoiler alert, and if you haven't seen it, come on.
Yeah.
You at least know what it's about. Where what's his name shows the one hitman shows the picture of his girl to the other hitman, and he goes, they're showing each other their girls, and he goes like who they date, and he's like, this is my wife or whatever, and he goes, that's not really my speed. This is a little more my speed, and he shows him a picture of the other lead character who you meet later, who is a trans woman who is pre-op, to use the terminology back then. Has not had, quote, bottom surgery, is still a fully functioning male genitalia. But the minute they showed the picture of her face, I was like, oh, she's trans. Okay. Like, I didn't know. I thought the plot would.
There's going to be another big twist that
I thought the big one. No, yeah, I thought at the end, there was going to be like, oh, they get like that they get married or something. That relationship that I remember thinking he has surgery and transitions to be with her because she's not getting bottom surgery kind of at that point. Like, you know what I mean? I thought it was like, it's so big. Everybody's like, oh my God, the reveal. I was like, well, if it's bigger than what's obvious right before me, it must be extraordinary. Yeah. So maybe he gets converted physically so that he can partner physically, with her. Like, I was running through my head watching the movie, like, what is it? What's the big turn, right? And anyway, so let's see. Best to see it at home, 3.5 hours. You can break. Oh, everybody's talking about how long we're going to go today because of the show. Yeah, we're now in the post show, everybody. So, hi, Mark. So, and thanks for sticking around for a moment, Johnny. You got big Christmas?
Yeah, man.
You got Christmas plans? What are you doing?
Oh, golly. Christmas is weird this year, so that's kind of
yes. Understood. Yep. Understood. Yeah. Is there something in how the wife's family gets together?
Yeah.
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 That's all right. So that'll probably be the majority of the time. Yeah, if at all. Yeah.
It's very complicated. It has nothing to do with my dad passing or anything like that.
I understand that. I mean, I have, I've got split custody, and so does Summer with her ex, and so both of our sons, she has one and I have one, are with their other parent on Christmas this year. That's how the rotation works out. So Summer and I are just having a couple's Christmas and then giving gifts to a couple of friends. And I think Christmas Day we're going to drive down. We haven't worked it out yet, but I think we're going to drive down to the Grand Canyon because it's about 2 hours from here and just have a day. Because it's one of those days when there won't be a lot of people there. That's not something people think of doing. That's what I try to do too, is fill that non-traditional time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
is the park open on Christmas Day?
Well, it's rather big, so even if it isn't, you got places to go. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah. There's not just one entrance. Yeah, there we go. And hi, people on there. Hal doing, Steve, how are you doing, Alan? What will you do for Pence impression? Scary. Barry, I did do Pence earlier. You just missed it.
Mm-hmm.
Jumbo is the Secret Service name of President Lyndon Johnson. 33. Well, he wouldn't let it be otherwise. Because let's be abundantly clear. Do you guys know? I mean, how do we put that? Okay, so timing wise, at one point, a reporter, and I believe it was a female reporter, was pestering, quote unquote, President Lyndon Johnson about Vietnam. Information that he did not want to give them, right? And she goes, do you have a statement? And I'm paraphrasing this. Do a statement on the troop movements in Vietnam. And after several no's and whatever, he apparently whipped it out and showed it to her and said, "Here's my statement." The 60s were a very different time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he apparently would show it to everybody, so it's not that surprising.
That's horrible.
Yes, that's horrible. Yeah, I agree. No. Oh, by the way, Johnny, since you're always asking me about comedians, do I know them and people you like, which I appreciate your love of comedy. Do you know who Dylan Moran is? Dylan Moran?
No, not yet.
Dylan Moran, because he's Irish, lives in Scotland, but he's Irish. He's been around for a long time. Go do a big YouTube deep dive for Dylan Moran. He's lovely.
How do you spell this last name?
Moran.
Okay.
Moran. And so anyways, I recently kind of, I mean, I've known of him for a long time, but I jumped into, into a deep dive of Dylan Moran lately because he's really charming and he seems always drunk. He's very Irish in that regard.
I've definitely seen his face before.
Yeah. Ciao, Hal. Robert in Florida here. Do you see these texts? I do. Hi, Robert. And that's the Robert in Florida that was talking to us on the phone at the same one, or are you just doubling up? Or are you trying to lure us into a false sense of security that it's the same one, and then you'll say something crazy? Right, you're from Kentucky, Hal. Have you watched Hellier, the documentary for those paranormal? I think it's on Amazon. It's on YouTube. I have not. Do they go into, like, Kentucky paranormal stuff? Because God knows there's plenty of it. Trump needs an extra term just to make it fair because all the unfair abuse he suffered. Yeah, poor baby. Yeah. So basically, every president who was hassled during a part of their term,
Obama would be president until the end of time.
Exactly. So all the presidents that were shot should have gotten an extra term. Should Reagan have been able to run again in '88 because he was shot in '81? I mean, he did get another term after that, but is that the poor baby defense of Trump? Honestly,
pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, he can get an extended sentence. Yeah, it's a good idea. Abuse Trump even more. It's not abuse. He's literally just facing the consequences of his actions. There's no abuse.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sorry.
That's my least favorite kind of abuse.
Sorry, but the whining is just pathetic. Be a man about it. It's so gross. Sheep jokes. I'm rolling back. Yeah, I don't know. I'm rolling back through the chat and trying to figure out what the how we were talking about the Irishman. I see. Okay, so in part of that, I don't know how that related. Amy says, "How's Camden? Is he excited for Christmas?" Very much so. Oh man, he's just like the excitement in him when he's sitting in a seat and he starts talking about presents. It's just lovely. And yeah, so it's. Brenda T says she saw a stage version of Death Trap and loved it. That should be amazing. I mean, it was originally a stage play too, and it reads like that on screen too. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, you almost sounded like Marvin the Martian when I was doing. I guess when I was doing Pence. All right, fine. I can see that. It's very strange. Like, he just has that phony somber. Talk about fake solemnity. Oh my God. Oh. Pence, when he's talking about it, is just like, the president has given so much sacrifice.
How he should sound.
We should all bow our heads in prayer to Mr. Trump for what he's given us. Like, oh God, grow up, child. Yeah, I don't. Bill and on Facebook, I don't know what the sheep jokes thing was at all. I don't know. And happy birthday to a couple of people in the chat room who've had birthdays in this little bit. Robin, there you go. Happy birthday. Let's see. The Dems are the party of Stalin. Investigation is a weapon. Oh, you wish. Oh, dude, try harder. All right, I gotta go.
I think I might need to leave on a high note now.
Yeah, I think so too. Lovely. I'm gonna sign off from the other sites. Anyway, so if you want to join us, come over to infotainmentwars.com to the YouTube page for the post show and like and subscribe to us there, so you can join in the entire exchange. That would be lovely. And we'll be back, of course, next weekend. We're on live every weekend. So if you want to, be a part of this whole thing, the best way to do it is go to the infotainmentwars.com, or which brings you to the YouTube page. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all that kind of stuff. Become a Patreon subscriber. All those fun things. Support us and do the stuff that actually shows that you care, which I know you do. But Merry Christmas, Johnny Million. Love you dearly.
Merry Christmas.
Have a great holiday. You're fantastic. And I will see you next weekend. Yeah? You're
Yeah,
around?
you will.
Okay, excellent. All right. Take care. Bye-bye. See you later, Johnny.
Bye.
All right. And I'm signing off on by Twitter. If you guys want to come over, hop on over. And Facebook, you guys are lovely, but we're jumping on over to the Facebook page. I gotta switch shirts and open a door because it is so bloody hot in this room with all these lights on. It's ridiculous. I've been trying to improve the production in here, and it's just ridiculous. It's just, yeah, I'm cooking. I like. I'm sure it gives me a nice glisten, but damn. So hold for a moment while I try and make this a presentable thing. So be right back. Oh, good Lord. Oh. I left my mic. Hold on. Lost it. Where'd it go? What happened to it? Where'd it go? It fell off. Microphone, where are you? There you are. Lost it. Hold on. Was that too noisy a thing? Was it kind of? Did we do it? Did it work? How are you? Hello? Did that work? Everybody? Da-da-da. I don't have short shorts on. No, hold on. Yeah, that's a good point, Act. Hold on, I'll bring this back. Realized I look like I was cooking like a holiday. I am. I totally want to. I have a little fan on in here. Hold on. That's ridiculous. Oh my God. I can't believe I forgot to sub him. I wonder how he's doing without lab rats. We're never without lab rats. You know what I mean? Like, it's always with us. Somebody said Malkovich was unwatchable in Poirot. I kind of got to agree. I mean, as a Poirot fan, we don't have country air here. And opening the window means opening the blinds, which means opening the count, which means light. And it's just, yeah, so you have lots of fans here. Oh, thanks, Carl. Yeah, it was so hot in here. And it's all LED lights. I think it's mainly the computer stuff that's doing it more than anything. Yeah, I realized too that I had my, I was clipped this on when I switched shirts that it just got thrown across the floor, so I lost it. What's the deadline for cameos? January 1st for the money to go to to Project Angel Food. I may extend it, but I want, we're trying to get at least 100 of them. So, and I think I have a bunch to do. I have to look. What's the number currently? How many do I have in here? We'll see. I have 9 today so far. So I'm trying to do like 10 a day over the next little bit. So they're those long, narrow things. That's what I have. That's what that is. That's a long, narrow thing and we get it so the cats don't, you can walk through it and not get harmed. Yeah. So there you go. Yep. Got a bunch of Zoltan requests, QAF requests, and even a couple of Lab Rats ones. So yeah, I'll be doing those today. And $5 of every cameo goes to Project Angel Food. So I just, I was looking before in the chat. I didn't see Can't Stop Lying. I don't know if you're with us today, brother, but if you're out there just kind of hanging in the background, hello. Billy Sparks waiting on my cameo to get done. Okay, let's see. Is it in your? Oh, there it is. It's set 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, there you are. So there's 4 ahead of you, but I will do it today. If you get it, if you go to cameo.com/HalSparks and get one of the cameos and give a video as a gift, a personalized video as a gift to a fan or of Lab Rats or Queers Folk or anything like that, or just get one for yourself, that's fine too. You can always bypass it entirely and just go to Project Angel Food's website and donate to them. That's totally cool. You don't have to do this. I've just decided that the people who do want cameos for Christmas presents, because I always get a rush of them, that I'm going to give $5 from that rush to Project Angel Food this year. That's all. Yeah, instead of watching Rise of Skywalker, I'm going to go watch 2.5 hours of people playing Star Wars Connect Dance mode on YouTube. That's a great idea. I don't see him either. I don't think CSL is here. Yeah, I didn't see him either. So Can't Stop Lying. Merry Christmas. Hope you're well. We will, let's see. Johnny Million texted me as well. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Apparently, the Santa Claus is coming to town. Nerd Halen version is now up on all websites like iTunes and the like. So I should be getting a link any minute. That just came up, hot off the presses for you guys. Let's see. Cool. Checking up on some people. Thank you guys so much. Speaking of weird voices, why does Trump always talk in that melodramatic, breathy voice when he's at his rallies? Weirdo. I know that whole folks, come on. They say to me, there's no water. There's like 2 drips. Bing, bong, bing, 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 bong, bing, bing. Ooh. They don't do it. They try, but they can't. Oh my God. A lot of Trans-Siberian Orchestra this season. That's a good choice. I will listen to Nerd Halen on Spotify. I wonder if it'll come up on. Hold on. The problem is, I was about to ask Siri for something. The problem is, if I call up, if I say her name and ask her to do something to make the HomePod do it. If my phone's right here, it will supersede it, and I have a watch, and they all talk to each other. I don't know how to make one of them listen more than the other. That's a weird problem to have. I don't even know if it'll come up, but shall we try? Should we give it a try? Hey Siri, play Santa Claus is Coming to Town by Nerd Halen on the HomePod.
One moment. Here is Santa Claus is Coming to Town, single by Nerd Halen.
What? That's awesome. Hey Siri, louder. That's amazing. It's pretty nice. It's pretty great. Like, that's weird that I could just ask for it the second. That's nice harmonies. That's Victor, the bass player, and I doing the main high harmonies. And good old-fashioned Van Halen background. Okay. Hey, Siri, stop. Hey, Siri. Yeah, thank you. That's super cool. I can't play all of it because I'll get a copyright strike on my stream of my own song. That's so weird. Heard the E Street version of that song from Wade Bowen. Yeah, that's hilarious. It sounded great in Anaheim the other day. Thank you, Carl. Yeah, that was our first time playing it. We played it at the Viper Room on Wednesday. I feel like it was even better there. So that was, yeah, it's pretty sweet. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. You see this below? Thumbs up. Do it. Come on, do it. Do it. Do it. Ask Santa for a Rolex. Hal actually have been good this year. Or do you just need to get your own gifts? A Rolex. I'm not a big watch wearer. Never have been. Till I got an Apple Watch, and then I was even when they started coming up, I was like, "Is this really something?" And by the way, you like my the face? Hold on, I can't get it there. It turns over once I lift my arm. Yeah. So, anyways, and I like the fact that you can change the face and like the stuff that gives you like news in your schedule and all that kind of stuff is great. I don't see myself wearing a regular just watch. That being said, my grandmother gave some of my grandfather's effects to me when he passed, and in it was an old Rolex he had, and I still have it. I've been thinking lately about getting it fixed just to wear it on special occasions as kind of a tip of the hat to him, So if you guys see me wearing a really old watch from like 1950 at something, it's probably on his birthday or my grandfather's birthday or the day he passed or, in honor of something he would have liked or done. So keep an eye out. That's probably what I'll end up using it for. But I don't, other than that, I don't have it. And Carl says the Apple Watch is one of those rare things that turned out to be even more useful than I thought it would be. Whoops, hold on. Sorry, chat moves up. Yeah, me too. I thought it would. It's nice when a toy becomes a tool. How do you feel after the glutathione? Sorry if you already covered this. I didn't talk about it, Thomas Rock. So yesterday, I went and got there's just a dot, so you can't really tell. But I went and got an IV treatment at this place, Revive, get it? Here in Vegas. There's a couple of them. And this is not a paid thing or whatever. Like the danger of doing stuff that's fairly specific as somebody who's in the media, I guess, is that people think everything's an ad. It's not an ad. I just went and did that, and I thought I'd bring people along. You guys know that for the most part. But anyway, so I have not noticed anything in particular from the glutathione, unless it's just the fact that nothing's missing in that regard. I'll just see over the next couple of days. I may do it 3 times over the next week. Like I said, I'm kind of recovering from, I got horrible food poisoning right before that cruise I went on. And then I've been on the road nonstop or had really extreme gigs that have just, I got to say, it's been a bit of a grind over the last 2 months especially, where it just feels like, it's one of those things where you're like, everything's good, you're making progress on things or whatever, but it's just the work is incredibly overwhelming. So, and physically, it takes on a lot. So, I decided to do a little bit of like physical support. There you go. So I tried that out. It was fun. So I don't know how. I haven't tried it without the glutathione that they added to it. So I don't know. But I'll let you know. I wear NachoTube says I wear an analog. You wear an analog watch. That's cool. Yeah. Don't forget to follow on Instagram. I popped on and did on my Instagram TV, I did a live stream when I was there, and I'll do a few of those there if you follow me over there. I prefer to do all my stuff on YouTube, but yeah, there you go. Remember when the neatest gizmo was the digital watch? Yeah, I do. I remember the first ones where you could play a video game on them, and it was like, it had a version of Space Invaders on it, and you're like, this is insanity. There were TV watches a long time ago, which even technically, I mean, I suppose is there a TV app on, is the Apple TV app on here at all? Because it seems a little weird that it would be. I know there's a YouTube app, but I don't know if it has an Apple Watch thing. Because sometimes I'll watch podcasts kind of like how this is for a lot of people. I'll watch them on my phone on YouTube, and then I'll go to the gym and I'll keep listening, and you can turn the screen off. So it'd be nice if the watch did that, I suppose, and then you wouldn't have to take your phone at all, that kind of thing. Amos Sparrow says, I'm hell on watches. Yeah, I'm that way with sunglasses. Yeah. Let's see. Hold on. And why did the chat in there die? Is that weird or what? Where's that's so strange. YouTube and its weird little live stream issues. I want to go to the stream that's on right now. I don't want to start another one. You maniac. It's like, okay, viewing live dashboard. There it is. I couldn't find there we go. That's such a better way of doing it. Criminy. Hal, did you get your guitar picks? I know you give. Yes, I did, actually. You guys want to see the new 01 guitar picks? Hold on. I know I have one right in here. Hold on. I always have them on the ready. I'm very proud of these, actually. This is a whole new set of one. Check that out. And then it's the red version of the symbol, which is the musical version. And on the tiny little type under there, it says Celere Veris, which is Swift and True. So that's my new pick, and it's pretty nice. So I got a decent number of them, and most of the ones I got have a little hole in the top, and you can make a necklace out of them. So I will indeed. Picks will go out. I'm working on a Patreon thank you thing. I'm terrible at mailing stuff out. I'm just awful at it. I'm trying to get better. It's just, and I've been, like I said, the last 2 months have just been such a grind. It's crazy. Sound Brit like Johnny Depp? Do you really want me to do that? I don't know if that's even important enough. Or earrings. Yeah. Yes, you can make earrings out of them. This is true. I have to go wish everyone in the chat a happy holiday season. Thank you, Eileen. We appreciate that. I forgot the Year Zero album was my first heavy metal. Aw, yo, no worries. You guys are great. I don't know why I think the quality's pretty solid today of the stream. I do want to say, oh, Brad, thank you so much for for finally impeaching the devil. We did it. Yep. It happened. As I said it would. I'm just telling you. How's it time for your medication? Right. it's, you know, they ask you a bunch of that stuff about when you go to one of these hydration places, you need a nurse. You need a full-on nurse to do something. There's medical laws around this. So they have a practitioner who's a certified technician who's capable of putting an IV in, but they may not have full nurse training. So you have to FaceTime with a real one. So they literally pick up an iPad and they dial this person who's on the line all the time, and they ask you some standard questions that you have to answer before they try it, and then then she's allowed from that point on, because this person is qualified to ask the questions and talk to you. That person is qualified to tell them, okay, it's fine, you can administer the IV and put the glutathione in or the B vitamins or whatever people are doing, which is a really strange thing of the future. Yeah, I know that. Like, how you are never wrong about anything. Is it hard to be a genius all the time? No, it's not hard. And I'm wrong about some stuff, but it's usually stuff that I'm like, I'll present it as, can you guys help me out here? Can you help, like, am I missing something? I will do that kind of thing. I am right a ridiculous amount of the time, though. And as we've moved forward through this whole impeachment thing, the number of times that I've said, like, just you watch, or people need to start changing how they discuss and talk about these things, every time. How many times have I been like, I've gone, guys, watch this, and it happens. I'm just saying, I feel pretty good about my record. Al, I have a question. If someone repents, what good does it do if people are still sinners? Well, technically speaking, repenting only works if you mean it. So if you just say the words and then you go back to doing stuff and you never really intended to try and fight it, then you're not a good person. You're just it's just sales. It's you're virtue signaling to God, right? But if you repent and mean it and then fail again, that's okay, because you're trying to be a better person. That should be the goal for everybody. And nobody is, nobody can get away from that. Nobody can escape that aspect. So that's what I would say. Does that make sense? Back, I got this. Good for you, Amos. The danger would be an adverse reaction to the infusion that is unlikely, but it could be life-threatening. That's true, Tom. That's why they ask you about you fill out a medical form about your stuff that you're allergic to and the like. And most of what they're allowed to put in there is fairly innocuous. It's, you can have a massive allergy to certain vitamins and stuff, but you're going to know about that. Nobody surprised finds out they're allergic to vitamin C or B1 or B6 or something like that while getting an infusion, right? It's something that's come up earlier, right? I'd rather just go to my doctor from the script to be sent to a hospital nearby where they've done various things to me. Holistically, I avoid surgery after my accident on purpose. Don't need it. Yeah. Well, this is also, it is literally just an IV and infusion. You should be a preacher, Al. Well, aren't I, kind of, in some ways? I repent of the evil I still intend to do. Then it won't work, Billy. You can't preemptively repent. That doesn't work. No. If I repent of the evil I still intend to do. What are you talking about? Get out of here. No peanuts are infused. This is true, right? The great Christian loophole. Commit all the crimes and sins you want. Just ask for forgiveness before you die, and you still get to go to heaven. No, you have to mean it. You can't just ask for forgiveness. You have to, meaningfully reflect on your sinful ways. And that is partly there as a mitigatory step because without the potential for forgiveness, people go down the long road of sin, in theory. This is kind of normal tribal stuff that works into this. One of the reasons why you allow people to find forgiveness or repent or change their ways, and you give them the room to do so as a broad spectrum approach to human behavior, even if you don't believe some of the folks. The reason you do that is because if you put people in a corner of sinfulness and say there is no way out, they will just go further with it. It is. I'll show you. It's the blanket accusation of racism effect, and this you can see this a lot. That if somebody is accused of of being a racist because they are a racist, they don't care. That person who is a genuine racist is not offended by the accusation of racism. The only reason they will push back against that accusation of racism is if they think it materially will affect their bottom line. They'll push back against so they don't get fired, but not because they don't really believe what they said or did, right? When people don't view themselves as racist, or in the realm of what people consider microaggressions or soft-pedaled racism, or the racism of low expectations, or anywhere where somebody isn't kind of an overt racist. Once you start calling them a racist and you paint them in a corner, instead of saying what you did was racist, thereby don't do that anymore. I don't think you're a racist. I think that's racist, and you might have not recognized, and there's room for you to heal and not do that anymore. And they may meaningfully go, wow, I wasn't aware that I was treating you that way, or people perceived that as such. I will change my delivery system of an idea so that it doesn't come across as racist, those kind of things. If you give people an out where they can repent through definition of the idea, not definition of the person, then people will become better. If you don't give them that out, then you have what is the defensive reflex, which is, fine, I'm a racist then. Fine. I mean, anything you think I do, and you see this in a bunch of the Trump supporters, that people who very well may not in their day-to-day act in a racist or sexist way or homophobic way or anti-LGBT way. I would prefer that language. Those folks may not mean ill, but after enough times of being told they mean ill, will go, then fine, I just mean ill because clearly I don't trust you folks and anymore, because you'll just accuse anybody of that. But you hear that language all over the place. So it's obvious there is a social value in giving someone a moral off-ramp to join society again, and that's why repenting is a part of most functional religions in a lot of ways, beyond the parts that are weaponized, and fanatical. Outside that, your average religious person, part of the reason why tribally we have that, or even in the legal system, we have the ability to rehabilitate yourself. The reason we leave that is because if you just say it's kind of the death penalty for this, well, then anything I do after this is fine. You can only hang me once. You can only hang me once part is very dangerous. And if you start talking about repenting, you can repent, just say you won't do it anymore, and believe that you did something wrong, and repent and ask for forgiveness. You can go back to being a normal person. The natural extension in the argument is, well, what if you're about to die? And does it count? Like, it has to. Otherwise, it doesn't count the rest of the time. Trump needs more than an off-ramp. That's clear. That's true. And again, I'm not talking about inserious people. I'm not talking about people who operate on the pretense of piety or fake a form of caring or repentance. Hang me once, shame on you. Hang me twice, shame on me. Right. Hang me once. Nope. Hang me once, shame on me. Hang me twice, shame on you. Because what? You're hanging a dead person. Is music all right in church, or is it music? Of course, is all right in church. Nearly anything is all right in church if it's done within the moral structure of what's going on there. Of course, I think. I mean, I grew up around Baptist kids who couldn't, weren't allowed to dance, and girls could only wear dresses that could only show like 6 inches above their ankles at most, which I think was dreamt up by an ankle fetishist. But they were the main girl that I knew in school who was who lived by that strictly because of her family got pregnant junior year and dropped out of school. Sex in church? No, it's not within the moral action of public displays. Then, it's here's a curious. We had a nice conversation last week where I asked you guys help on something, and one of the things that keeps coming up because I'm on Lab Rats and I've been on Queer as Folk, and my stand up is in a rather adult form. One of the things that keeps coming up is people seem to have a real issue with viewing stuff that is for an isolated audience in present totality. Meaning that if you can't say it everywhere, you shouldn't say it anywhere, which is clearly not true. Because you clearly speak differently in front of your friends than you would in front of your elderly grandmother. I don't swear nearly that much in front of my friends. And but in all honesty, contextual behavior is a completely reasonable thing, and it doesn't mean you're being fake. It just means that there's a time and a place for your behavior. And people seem to have a hard time working their way out that out in their head, I guess. Like, how did you end up on a Disney show when your stand-up is like that? I'm like, because I don't do that there. What are you talking about? It's a different audience. I curse like the dude. Very relaxed. Social filter. Exactly, Benny Loco. It's respectful. I was raised in an a cappella church. I dug that part. That's cool. You're just being respectful of others, Hal. Yeah, precisely. But also, I think, respectful of myself, too. Because that's my standard. And I have to say, over the last couple of months, because of the impeachment stuff and who I deal with on there, I kind of view my Twitter feed as me speaking to other adults. And I've become aware again how lax I was getting with the language I use, and I'm dialing it back again because I got kind of carried away. And I was like, no, this is public behavior. And so I got to find a more creative way of dealing with that public behavior. So even if I feel like swearing, I have to find another way that's publicly appropriate to show that emotional content. And I stopped for a little while because it's such a serious thing. So comportment is out of style. It kind of is, public display versus private display is kind of meaningful. Like, I'm not quite, was it Lizzo or something who was wearing the buttless dress and like twerked in the thong at the Lakers game or something like that? And I'm like, why are you doing that in public? There's kids at the game. I mean, honestly. I understand how Christians can support Trump after the Billy Bush tape was released. I agree. And again, that's another example of like private behavior where you get a look at somebody and it's in direct contrast to who they are presenting themselves at. Well, Trump he always presented himself as that gross. I mean, even talking about his unborn daughter's breasts. I mean, what? I never swear around young kids. Never. I think they're entitled to have a childhood before they get into it. I agree. Yeah. I don't swear around little kids either. Well, thanks for the warning, Ellie, in case we ever knock on your door. The so-called Christians who support Trump have sold their souls to the devil. I mean, I think if you're using the kind of traditional idea of the moneylenders in the temple and the egregious sort of sinful behavior that benefits you temporarily that the Bible is kind of pushing against all the time. Yes. How it comes down to knowing right from wrong, trusting oneself to judge and behave accordingly. I agree, but also, at least I think there's, a societal standard has to have some meaning to it. Like I wouldn't bring a kid to the gay pride parade, for example, not because kids shouldn't know and support LGBT people, but a lot of people in the parades in the cities that I'm in do not dress in what I would say is publicly appropriate clothing. I just, period. I don't even think that's debatable in that regard. If making me president would require selling your soul to the devil, then it wouldn't be me you were making president. Those are diametrically opposed concepts. Daughter of union official who has worked for politicians, now with attorneys. Like every other word. I see. Well, that's obviously in interpersonal relationships and even work environment. I think you could swear, obviously I swear in my work environment when it's appropriate. I didn't do it on the set of Lab Rats, but in my job as a comic I did. On Queer as Folk I clearly did. Anywhere there's an adult baseline environment, but then a kid comes on set, everybody cool it. How hard is that? There you go. Billy's hit it right on the head, I think. Just because you can does not mean you should. Right. The total asset. I don't know anything about her. I just know that was one of the viral videos that went out, and I was like, come on, guys. Why would you? Don't look at where you are, assess your behavior accordingly. Don't swear on your phone in public a bunch. Don't do it. And like I said, if you catch yourself, because some people do, and that's kind of what I've been saying about like this, like on Twitter and stuff. I kind of caught myself getting really lax with it. Because I was like, I started with going, well, it's late at night. This tweet will be late at night. And I'm like, well, it's still going to be available. It might show up in people's feeds the next day. And the way they do stuff now with top tweets versus other stuff, it could absolutely pop up in the top. So I was like, I might start brooming the language out of those and just reposting stuff edited or something. But I've got to start dialing, because I've been doing tons of stand-up lately too, and it shifts how I speak, comfortably in public with my friends and family as well. Adult family, by the way. I learned to swear when I started working with men. I learned to swear in Spanish when I spent some time in Mexico. It was necessary sometimes. Yeah. Some people are just attention to, well, I love your comedy and HSRPM. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thank you, Go Bucks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, this is, are we looking down the barrel of what would be a new awareness of what it means to act publicly and privately? Are we entering into that? Is that the post effect of Instagram? Because remember when I was saying about like when people get called a racist so much and they don't feel like they are, and you call them a racist, not their behavior racist, and they feel trapped in the definition. A lot of times the fallback is psychologically, well then fine, I am one. You know what? And F you at the same time, and they just kind of go with it. The same thing I think is true about that public displays of inappropriate behavior in public. That this wave of Instagram and just posting, near naked pictures of yourself and all this kind of stuff you wouldn't walk around in a mall wearing, but you'll post online for everyone to see as if there's a difference. Is there slowly now moving, are we moving in the direction of reining that in? Did it hit did it peg the needle and we finally redlined? This is true, Amy. Go easy on the weights when you start around. Don't swear around others. Doesn't mean the words don't get in my head. This is true. I'm looking forward to Eddie on SNL tonight. It'll probably be the first full episode of SNL I've watched in ages. A preacher at a church I used to go to curses all the time, but not during service. All right. Who wore a buttless thong? It wasn't a buttless thong. She was wearing a thong and a buttless dress, and then she twerked in front of the cheerleaders because they were dancing to one of her songs, and it was just on camera. And there's tons of people. It was just like, what are you doing? Why would you think that's a good idea? Why are you not embarrassed by that? I don't get it. It doesn't mean it's not okay in other formats. It just shows me that you have no, like, total disregard for other humans. Because there's even a big difference between, like, putting that on your Instagram, where if somebody wants to follow you, they know what they're getting into, or even your Twitter feed for that matter. But going out to a crowded place where maybe 30% of the people even know who you are and doing that, it's just weird. Think it, don't say it. Berbiglia. No, I mean, believe me, that's, no. You don't say it in public in those regards, but in stand-up, like, any of the comics that don't swear creep me out. Yeah, well, policing your language has some value. Like, I always look at Eddie Murphy's Raw, for example, is a great example. He co-wrote that with Keenan Ivory Wayans. And you can tell which parts he wrote with Keenan because he swears a lot less, because he has more faith in what he's saying. And when he gets to his own stuff, there's a little bit of, like, he's not as confident in those pieces, so he swears a lot more as like a crutch. And so you can be aware that swear words have incredible value. They really do. But you don't overuse them and wear them out to where they have no meaning. And in terms of getting your kids not to swear, it's not because those words are bad. It's because if you fall back on that being your main way of expressing emotions, you've got. It's like giving somebody a 10-speed bicycle and only letting them use one gear. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, good point, King David Lane. Curse words are seasoning, not entrees. Yeah, and a lot of people, that's their fallback. The first time my boys swore, I told them they had to know what it meant, how to spell it, and how to express it with 3 different words, and most importantly, know who the audience is. That's a good general standard. Loved Bill Cosby lecturing comics, working blue. I know. Again, Hal, question. Why do you think that we as a society use profanity so matter of fact? Take the F-bomb. We hear middle school and high school kids using it every other word. I swore a lot in middle school and high school, and I'm pretty proud of my vocabulary overall. I largely did it in imitation of people that I had as heroes, comedically, and usually in quoting them. But I don't find that I swore nonstop. It just stuck out when I did. The goal should be always like, okay, how else can you say that? Well, the problem is slipping in public, so I like my kids learning how and when to swear early. Yeah, well, today's swear words will be like the golly gee of the future, and new swear words will be created. Kind of. I mean, they've been trying to replace one that is very popular with the Irish and the Scottish that I use as seasoning in my show. It's like, I mean, but that's like a habanero. You can use it once in the dish or it'll overwhelm the whole thing. Yeah, it's the context, the intention. Absolutely. That's Carlin's idea. I would argue that the only, quote, bad words are the racial slurs. Those qualify as bad words to me, not what are conditionally swear words. Kind of equally applied swear words don't bother me at all. And but I do think you should police your conversational usage of them around children, because you're teaching them, they've got a very limited vocabulary. They're just starting out talking, even up into their teens. They have no idea how many words are out there and how they can be applied. And if you're throwing that in there a bunch, you're limiting their ability to broaden their own vocabulary because they're going, well, in my house, this word means 3,000 words. The F word is incredibly diverse in its use. The R word is not allowed around me along with other swears. Understood. Were you doing the Quebecois swear earlier? Allen High School, our baseball coach used to say house as our swear word. That way no umpire heard the 7 dirty words. That's an interesting word to choose. I met some Mormons who were, when my buddy Dan was dating one, when he was still in the closet, he had a Mormon girlfriend. And they would say, instead of Jesus Christ, they'd say cheese and crackers. And they'd say fudge. And they'd say cockadoodle. And they'd say bass pole, which I thought was just like the weakest one. I'm the same way, Amos. Agreed. And I would say that's a bad word to me because there's no functional use of it. I find no need for it, and I've seen more what are considered left-wing progressive YouTubers say that word than right-wingers. It's weird. Like it's kind of, there's this when Lenny Bruce did his last special, his last filmed show, it wasn't really a special. It's him at this restaurant jazz club doing stand-up right before he died. He got arrested for saying a rather long word that describes a purveyor of fellatio, and oftentimes presumes a male participant. I'm trying to dance around this much, but he got busted for saying it in the club. He said it, and they walked up on stage and arrested him on the spot. Next day, he's in jail, and the judge says, "What's he being charged for?" And the cop who arrested him says, "Your Honor, at this point in the proceedings during the show, the defendant said blah, blah, blah." And the judge goes, "He said blah, blah, blah?" He goes, "Yes, sir. He said blah, blah, blah." He goes, "Blah, blah, blah. How could he say that word, blah, 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 in the middle of the..." And Lenny Bruce sat there and said, I think they're getting off on saying the word blah, blah, blah right here. They're saying it more than I said it. I said it once in context to making a joke. And these guys have said it 9 times for no reason. It's written down. You can just say that word, sir. You don't have to repeat it. It's in the record, but they wanted to say it. And there's a bunch of people, Steve Shives has said it, and Cenk has said it on the air, and I'm just like, why? Why? Agreed, Amos. And everybody, and I think Louis C.K. had one about it. If you say N-word, you're just putting the word in my head, so it's the same as saying the word. I'm like, no, it's not for you, adult. It's a message generationally to people coming up that it's not something you say in public. That's why. And if they haven't heard it, you don't. A great desire for blah, blah, blah is out there. It's true, Tom. People who rent, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Lenny Bruce said, "Hey, man, I just said it. I didn't do it." Right. But that, he was making the case that the judge and the cop were saying it a bunch of times, and he'd only said it once. The same thing is kind of true about Cenk and Steve Shives when they said it. It's like they'll say it like 3-4 times in a row to say it, just to say it. I'm like, what are you doing? This helps no one. There is no upside to doing this. It is ridiculous. So to me, that's a no-go zone word-wise. Insofar as all the, what are your standard swear words, I'll use all of them in my stand-up and in an acting part. That doesn't bother me. But again, in front of, if a Lab Rats fan comes up to me and, like, are you kidding? No. And so I've decided, to kind of that I was letting my emotions get the better of me during the whole like lead up to the impeachment thing, and because I was getting pissed. So there you go. If you respect me, you can talk to me however you want. I believe in freedom of speech. Well, that's exactly it. I think I'm going to go take a Trump. Are you going to have to flush 12 times? Holy smokes. Well, that is a pretty bizarre show, man. So yeah, I've been kind of ruminating on that very idea lately. So is Trump the original use of the Trump? That's true. Like a Trump card or whatever. That's why they took that name, because it's the upper hand. Wikipedia has a very informative article on snowballing. I discovered this yesterday. Maybe, oh, good Lord. Do not need. Dude, put some Roundup in a squirt bottle and spell that word out on the line. I don't know if I'd use Roundup, but I get what you're doing. That's hilarious. I wouldn't do that word, though. Everyone has freedom of speech, just as everyone has a right to react to that speech however they want. Someone will always find a way to be offended no matter what was said, though. Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between somebody who swears in the abstract because of the vehemence of their speech and someone who is swearing in an abusive tone. And there is a difference, and the words themselves aren't necessarily illegal. And they started fixing that with like the FEC, because if somebody yells F you on the news at somebody that they're talking to through the camera to express themselves, that's clearly a violation of FEC rules, FTC rules. FCC rules. What am I talking about? FCC rules. But there's so many F and C. Yeah. So it's a violation of FCC rules. But if somebody on camera who's doing a report on, the catalytic converter gets out of their car and slams their hand in the door and uses that word, an exclamation, and it goes out before they get somebody hits the dump button, they're not going to get the same fine, nor should they. And then you just go, I pardon me for that expression of pain, but I by no means meant to say that in public. I am injured. I find it interesting, this whole conversation about swearing. No one has sworn once. Well, it just shows that it's optional. And again, optional behavior is what I think indicates character. Kind of like how Santorum has an alternative definition. Yeah, that's one of the few words that if I say it, it kind of grosses me out. How ironic. I mean, as a human being, that's true anyways. But on top of it, like, dude, that's like where Savage went on that is just amazing. So yeah. The heck? Anybody follow robots with ray guns? They've been following me for a long time or whatever, and they're so funny because they like me in such a weird way. It's such a strange mix of humans. Bless their hearts. They're really cool. Like I can never tell where they land on stuff. Oh. Oh, good Lord. there's a Gary Busey. Yeah, it's $350 to get Gary Busey to say something to you. Oh God, horrifying! What in the world is Gary doing? What the heck is that? Hold on.
Will be winning every Golden Globe, Oscar, and public announcement award that ever. It's the best movie ever. It's just funny great. It's great. So watch TV and remember when I said this because it will be happening. See ya.
Oh yeah.
You need.
It's so frightening. Hold on. Wait.
This is for Josh Cooley from Doug Cox. I want to tell you something, Josh. You need to understand that Frozen 2 will be winning every Golden Globe, Oscar, and public announcement award that ever. It's the best movie ever. It's just funny great. It's great. So watch TV and remember when I said this because it will be happening. See ya.
Oh my God.
You need.
That's incredible. I'm sorry about the feedback, guys. That's what the hell? What the hell? I find it quite ironic, and I don't like. Did you guys see? Okay, hold on. I gotta bring this up on our oh gosh. And you guys, I spent the night in a haunted house with Gary Busey. Okay. And let me reset. I spent the night in a haunted house with Gary Busey. Like that. That's the kind of stuff. Like I'm gonna have the tallest tombstone ever because of all this stuff I've done in my life. But wow. Have you ever had your hand stepped on by a horse? How? Let me say, when the horse stepped on mine, I said words I hadn't said in years. Jack was 16, hands, and weighed 1,500 pounds. Holy smokes. Gary Busey in Haunted House was awesome, but he was like, "Hey, I think I should be the one who speaks to all the ghosts here because I have a direct line to them because I had a motorcycle accident in 1988, and now when they put my head back together, they scooped in some gravel and scrambled eggs, and now I get signals from the other side. So I should be able to speak to the ghosts directly. And if you guys want them to pick anything up at the store, you let me know." He was mine are $25. Like I would feel like a jerk charging more than that for it. And some of the people who do more than that, it's like straight up exploitation. Sound like fan fiction. It does. Yes, Gary Busey is still alive, but he's a mess. Bless his heart, but he's a mess. Wait, what did I miss in the trail? I scroll back on some of this. Doesn't sound so much for. Yeah, I wouldn't call Texas the South. It's Southwest. I would consider it Western, because the South is defined by the Mason-Dixon line that had to do with the Civil War, largely stopped before the Texas territories. And so some people will try to paint it as, quote, the South, but it's not in that traditional sense, and it's obviously all desert in the West. It is not the same, Virginia-style agrarian, forest and hill kind of country that the South is mostly made up of. Top-ranking astronaut charge about $350 for a simple autograph these days. Yeah, well, they're going to be worth something afterwards. One time at Bernie Sport called, they did. Well, that's fairly awful. Sorry, Jen Becky. Yes, it was Susie who wanted to kill me. Stopped because the girl I was thinking, whoa. I obviously missed the top of that. I feel like my Gary Busey impersonation gave people flashbacks or something. That's terrible. Here we go. So, oh, let's see. Let's see. I watched the season of Big Brother UK that Gary won. It was really apparent how not right in the head he is. Well, he has a head injury. I mean, he's physically damaged. Sorry, Susie. Yes, Hal Y related to what? Texas is just Mississippi with cowboy boots. Yeah. What are your thoughts on Andrew Yang saying we need to stop obsessing about impeachment in regards to the Dems? I think he's trying to grab certain audience people who aren't tied into it. And there's a couple of them that are looking at the polls and trying to play into that part of it. And they feel like some of the others are like Sanders, more Warren probably, are a bit boxed in by previous statements. And they're trying to appeal to a broader group to try and make up for the voters they don't have. None of it hurts really. And they don't. He can say that now that the vote has happened. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of this just looks like verbal strategy. It's okay. I told Jack everything is my friend now. I'm talking now. Well, I'm glad I can fold into that group, Amy. Oh, and Amy, you weren't here last week. Did you send that box of candy? Was that you? I think it was. Anyways, they're lovely. We appreciate it. Who should be expecting extra mail? Let us know. Well, I'm talking to Rob tomorrow, all the patrons currently, and then there may be a next tier thing that's really kind of super one of a kind. I don't know what else to say besides that. Yeah. And also, I didn't mean what I said in a mean way. I just mean that it wasn't really show that his behavior isn't an act. Yes. No, I understand that, Breezy. Yeah. Predictions on what will come out of Trump's mouth between now and this show next week? Oh, my God. Okay, well, then I don't know where they came from, maybe. Yeah. I did like Yang's tweet about shaking the money tree in the wine cave. Very dunk on Mayor Pete from Yang. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know enough of the big donors, the rich donors that work with, some of the charity work like HRC and Project Angel Food and AIDS Project Los Angeles and Humane Society. There are a lot of millionaires edging on billionaires that really do give a crap about a lot of that stuff. And they don't end up giving more than the legal amount. They're not in any way negatively affecting, the turnout of that. They're not giving enough money where it'll be necessary for them to, whoever's running, to repeat lines from them or sign off on bills. They're there as personal voters, but because they have a lot of money and people are always up in their grill, the stuff that they have to meet with and attract those kind of folks are very exclusive. for security reasons and all kinds of stuff. So that doesn't surprise me that much. I mean, I've seen those, you know. So if he, you know, and that seems to apply to the wine cave thing that that Mayor Pete went to. Like, I'm not, until we get money out of politics on a legal level, you can't bring a knife to a gunfight in this. And I think that was his argument, and I agree with it. and Yang can say what he said because he's at 2.6%. And it's why he's not above that number. And you could argue that because Mayor Pete has the availability of those funds to make his case and make his presence known, that he's able to, that's why he's ahead in Iowa, because he spent that money where it goes. I do not like cheesecake. This is true. I'm not a fan at all. Let's see. Sometimes raising concerns shifting the party on a certain issues is enough. Automation of jobs is not a nothing burger concern to further abuse of industry. Agreed. I mean, I think that's one of Yang's best elements in this race. And he talks to Biden about this stuff a lot. He was employed, you know, he was hired by the Obama administration to work on this very topic, you know, on entrepreneurship and jobs programs. And what he came away with was that the folks that were going to rely on a factory job, especially when you compare to where automation is going, these people are in no way guaranteed a job. You're going to have to find a solution. And that's where he thinks the UBI is part of that. It's not a new concept at all, but it's definitely one that he feels like its time has come, simply because with the automation, yes, some jobs were moved overseas and to Mexico, but largely because the automation of them wasn't there yet. Once it is, those jobs will disappear from China and Mexico, and they're even less prepared than we are to shift their populace towards another way of employing yourself. Enough to get attention maybe around 20 years from now. Yeah, no question. Thanks, Carl. Wine Cave meme is illustrating why we need to get money out of politics. I agree, but until we do, why do you pants yourself as far as donors in front of the Republican Party? And there's an interesting argument about how I don't take money from big donors. I only take them from from my constituents. People who believe in me, they send $27, right? Well, your followers are, no matter what, even Sanders at his most, or any of these folks, the people who support you for your policies, who are going to fund your campaign, are still not going to represent 48% of the country. And you're still going to have to govern for their benefit. But if the benefit of the 52% that got you elected is more important to you than the 48% that were against you actively, is that not you doing the will of your donors over what's quote unquote right in the thing? I mean, it's a smaller argument 1-to-1. But if you're doing you present your ideas, people support you, you get into office, it should be indicative of that. And ultimately, even though you may believe in one thing, if it turns out not to work or whatever, and you have to come up with a new plan, it still has to benefit the people who didn't vote for you. And I think most people try to go in with that idea. I think that is the big difference with Democratic voters as well, because I think that there's a tendency on the Democratic side with a lot of people to kind of make sure that your policies benefit others, right? And I'll be glad to make the triple chocolate cheesecake for everybody else in the family. I'm just not a fan. You can't bring a knife to a gunfight. No, you just also bring a knife to a gunfight so that when you're out of ammo, you have a backup. Yeah, that's the question too, Wes. And that was my problem with the UBI at base, was to even begin to launch this, you would have to reinforce the price gouging laws, especially and establish some form of rent control nationwide first. Can you imagine trying to pass a nationwide rent control law? Because the day, at least in LA County, there's no question that the day after a UBI passed, rent in Los Angeles County would go up $1,000, if not, at best 500. But there's no way it doesn't go up to absorb that extra money. In any place where you need to live to work, that $12,000 will just be consumed environmentally right away. Now, it would definitely help people who are in Appalachia or are in rural communities with very little recourse, or towns in Ohio where things have been decimated, and there's no way anybody could get away with in those areas. People would just move to the next town over, or build a log cabin, buy a double wide with the payments they know they're going to be able to make, and move across the county line. But if you're in a big city, your rent's just going to go up $1,000. The mortgages will absorb an extra. Will operate under the intention that it'll be an extra $1,000. That's the issue. You have to, with a UBI, comes with it price controls. They have to. And I don't know that that's been addressed. I'm not against it. What they've been talking about, what they talked about initially with the UBI was what was effectively a negative income tax. Is that, let's say you're at let's say $16,000 a year is the poverty line, and you're at 16. Let's say you're at you make nothing, you get $16,000 a year. With the idea that you get a job and you get a tax break for the money that you make up to a certain point. So if you got a job making $6,000 a year, you don't lose that $6,000 because you're still not moving ahead at all. You're still just getting to even. But as your wage goes up, eventually your payment goes down. So it's subsidizing your move to making it as on a cash level. You get less cash the more your wage goes up. Then once you hit that $16,000 mark, or whatever it is, this is an arbitrary number, but $12,000 was the money that they were instituting. So this extra $1,000 a month, right? At that point, you're not getting $1,000 a month. You're even. You're just making your wage. The only way you know how. Anyways, and then let's say you get a raise at your job, or you start moving up. What you do is you get a tax break equivalent to that $12,000. So you don't get cash anymore below this line. You reach up to this point, then you get a tax break towards $1,000 a month up to a certain point. Say $50,000 a year. You get $1,000 knocked off your taxes to start with till you're making $50K a year. That's like negative income tax as a concept, as a form of UBI. So the UBI would only go to a certain point. Not everybody gets it. It's based on how much money you make. But you don't automatically drop off like a lot of the programs the minute you get a job. So where people can't afford to get a better job because they'll lose their benefits, you just go, no, your benefits just get tamped down based on your reported income. And then you get a tax break even above that. So it motivates you to keep moving up the ladder, and you get this tax break for that. Does that make sense? That's, I think, a more effective way of putting it forward. That's been referred to as the negative income tax for people. So it pays them out up to a certain point. Did you get the letter I sent to you about Jennifer and Vicky Heller? Will be on anniversary on the 3rd of February 2020. Yes, I did. You'll still need the social programs. Yes, you will to some extent, but people won't worry about being kicked off the government programs. Bring enough money to bring lots of guns to a gunfight until we're sending Citizens United make gunfights illegal. New bumper sticker. It's a long one. Buy don't rent. Opinion buying is actually cheaper. That's true, but for people who just don't have the credit score or the down payment, it's nearly impossible. If everyone makes $12,000 more a year, then no one will get subsidized health care. No, because subsidized healthcare like is still a much higher number. You don't make that baseline. It's not at 12,000. 12,000 more a year. I mean, there's still people who are making, $15,000 a year. If they're making 27, they're still going to get a benefit, especially if they have a child. But they won't have to take a second job. Does that make sense? Would it cancel out Social Security recipients? No. In theory, it would go any Social Security recipient who is not who's below the poverty line or is not achieving a level equal to the Social Security part will get a benefit package that evens them up to that higher line. So they'll get their Social Security, whatever they made, and then it'll move them to whatever that baseline number is, probably more than likely it'd be a mitigatory number between the 50 and the 12, the 50 and the 16. So probably about 32, 36,000 in that range, depending on where they live and what if it's tied to inflation, that kind of stuff. I mean, that stuff has to be worked out. Then we would not pay into Social Security. You would above a certain point. It wouldn't take out the taxes your employer takes for Social Security would not change. This is about income tax. We need to re-regulate the financial system too. We did. Those need to be stricter, no question. The interesting thing is they've become stricter for small business and the average buyer. They have become looser in a lot of ways for like the giant multinationals, because they use foreign law and protection to change the laws for themselves. So the United States law can be as strong as you want, but as long as we're part of the WTO, they have the ability to manipulate what we're allowed to regulate in terms of them doing banking in the States. Speaking of which, can Social Security be voluntarily taxed? No. That's why it was put in place, because left up to our own devices, most people don't save enough, and then you have having poor old people who are dying. And so we set up Social Security as a protection against that. I decided to buy it $30 with cash I saved and spent last year than I did in my 20s. Prices dipped, so I could pay cash. What people should do if they have their money saved. This is true. My SSI going up $21 for cola next year. Is cola an acronym, or do you mean buying sodas? All right, take care of yourself, Amy. Have a wonderful Christmas. Thanks so much. Where do dogs go when they lose their tails? The retail store. Oh, goodness gracious. Dad jokes, really? On your way out the door, Amy? Good Lord. Merry Christmas. Yeah. I'm going to sign off too, because I'm going to continue to work on my setup here, and it's going to need some tweaking. Audio and video wise, we are pretty solid. So thank you, patrons. As a matter of fact, hold on, before I go, give me 1 second. I want to do something as we near the end of this hullabaloo. Let's see. Look at that. All right. Well, sure, accept cookies. This is good. Schedule meetings. Okay. Patrons. Here we go. I just wanted to thank some folks who are with us or whatever, who've been there. And Aaron's been with me for a little while as a patron, and I want to thank you, Aaron, because he signed up at $6.66 for the 666 Fifth Avenue telethon, which is fantastic. And it's been paying out that way. That's really funny because I guess you could set your own amount or whatever. But I want to, let's see, really get a chance to thank some people who've been in kind of long term in this. Tom Hebert and James Etling, thank you so much, and Ginger and Allison Ziegler and Kim Meager, who, by the way, she if you want to pick a charity and you want to use that link for my Amazon, which you'll I think it's in the link below, you can support Wild Horse Ranch Rescue. Put that on your Smile Amazon if you would. Help them out with every purchase. It doesn't cost you anything. So it's just awesome. Thank you, Kelly Bonvivant and Michael Gallagher. Thank you so much. And Billy, thank you, and Natalie and Julie Jones and Miles and Michelle and Robert and the other Robert and Jace and Thomas Rock. Thank you so much. And Lisa and Pamela Rensko and Johnny Stewart and Brian and Jude. Thank you so much. And Janice and Charles and Hal Vickery and Richard and our beloved Can't Stop Lying and Carl. Thank you so much. And thanks for being a great, just all around, seeing you the gigs and getting to have a dinner with you before that last show was really a pleasure. And I can't thank you enough for moderating this immoderatable thing. So yeah, if you guys find it in your hearts and you want to support the show, I appreciate it. All the extra stuff on there is not, they're not prizes. That's not what you're buying. You're not purchasing the benefits. Those are just extras on top of it. Only sign up if you want to help the show. And if you want to help the show, it's a great way to do it. Patreon.com/HalSparks. And then Robert and I are working on a special gift for those who've been with us for a little while. It'll probably take us a couple of months to put it together. So if you join now, you'll definitely be in the 3-month club by the time they come out. But you guys are fantastic. And of course, Julie. So thank you guys a bunch. If you want to, you can do the PayPal me /HalSparks if you want as well. That's if you don't want to get into one of these signed things. There are obviously memberships on YouTube now, which is kind of a similar thing. If that's easier for you, some of the people who do Super Chat, that's part of their thing. I have not figured that part of it out yet. I'm glad to if that interests anybody, So anyways, I adore you guys and I really appreciate it, and it helps. And you get the vlog version, the video on demand version of the wonky donks. So you get to see Jackie and I. We're going to do another episode, I think on Monday. We may do a special streaming one. I talked to Jackie about that as well. So just a lot of those. It's all just extra. Like I said, only do it if you want to help the show and know that that's what it's doing. So I appreciate you guys for doing that. Also, you can always buy merch. That helps. All of it goes into the show. So thank you guys a ton. I can't tell you how much it means to me. I'm going to sign off now and continue to work on improving the show. And yeah, just all around, you guys have made this so much better this year. It's gotten so much smoother, and it's 100% from our beloved Super Chatters and our Patreon people. You guys it's such a gift. I sent you a sticker. Oh, Robin, thank you for the sticker. I'm sorry if I did not see it. Hold on. Hold on. How do you do reload the page? How do you reload that page? Reload the page. All right. It's not showing me on there. I'm sorry if I missed it. Hold on. Oh, there you go. Thomas Rock, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And Robin, thank you for the sticker of the... Is he... Oh, he's handing me a bone? Is that a dog? Oh, dog with a bone. Yeah, that makes sense. So thank you guys so much. Those of you that can be at the in the Blue Patch Brigade, who will be at the Flapper Show, just let me know. You're always on my list. It's always cool. Even if you haven't gotten a patch yet, if you want to come to a show, you let me know. You're going to be on the list. It won't be a problem. If there is any issue, you can contact me and I'll get you in and get it covered. Always, always, always. And then, of course, more comment to be posted. And I just got my special. I got the cut. I'm going to post it on Patreon for like a month first, so you guys get to see it before anybody else. And there you go. See? You get to help the show, and you get all this free stuff that, yeah, before anybody else. There you go. I'm doing my Patreon thing. I'm doing it. All right. So thank you guys so much. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. And I will see you next time. You're wonderful. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. And I will see you before the new year. So we're going to have a retrospective. I'm going to play some clips, stuff like that next weekend. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time. So take care of yourselves. I'll see you next time. Bye. Bye, everybody.